reading the call and bill for a further 10 minutes. Senator Adams. Clerk, if we have quorum now, call out the first order.
Order number 1, administration of oath.
Next order.
Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Next order.
Order number 3, messages.
Next order.
Order number 4, petitions.
Next order.
Order number 5, papers.
Majority Leader, you have a couple of papers to read this morning. As my Deputy Majority Whip, proceed.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the Senate today, the 18th February 2026, report of the Auditor General on the financial statements for the year ended 30 June 2024 of Kakamega County Revenue Agency Fund for 24 months period. Reports of the Auditor General on financial statements for the year ended 30 June 2025 of Ugunja Municipal Board, County Government of Siaya, Madiani Sub-County Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Siaya, Uyawi Sub-County Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Siaya, 𝗪𝗪𝗡𝗏 Water Services Company Limited, Rambwa Sub-County Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Siaya, Ambira Sub-County Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Siaya, Ukwala Sub-County Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Siaya, Narok County Bursary Management Fund, Narok Municipality, County Government of Narok, Narok County Assembly, Car Loan and Mortgage Grants, Loans, Grants and Mortgage Scheme Fund, Municipality of Naivasha, County Government of Nakuru, Naivasha Water and Sewerage Sanitation Company Limited, Mutiambua Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Makueni, Kalawa Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Makueni, Kiambeke Sub-County Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Makueni, Mukuyani Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Makueni, Sultan Hamud Sub-County Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Makueni, Makindu Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Makueni, Emali Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Makueni, Kilungu Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Makueni, Kibwesi Sub-County Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Makueni, reports of the Auditor General on the financial statements at Matiliku Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Makueni, Water Sewerage Company Limited, Zombe Sub-County Hospital, County Government of Kitui for the year ended 30 June 2025, Nu Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Kitui, Kitui Empowerment Fund, Kayangi Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Kitui, Mwingi Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Kitui, Katulani Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Kitui, reports of the Auditor General on the financial statements on Matitu Sub-County Level 4 Sub-County Hospital, County Government of Kitui, reports of the Auditor General on the financial statements on Kitui County Textile Center, reports of the Auditor General on financial statements of Ikianga Sub-County Hospital, County Government of Kitui, Ibirikani Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Kajiado, Olgejedo Water and Sewerage Limited Company, Chuka County Referral Hospital, County Government of Tharaka Nithi, Mariamati Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Tharaka Nithi, Meru County Alcoholic Drinks Control Board, Nakuru County Cooperative Development Revolving Fund, Narok County Alcoholic Drinks Regulations and Control Fund, Mpeketoni Sub-County Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Lamu, Witu Sub-County Hospital, County Government of Lamu, Mokote Sub-County Hospital, Level 4, Sub-County Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Lamu, Lamu County Referral Hospital, County Government of Lamu, Rabai Sub-County Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Kilifi, Watamu Municipality for the 17 months period, County Government of Kilifi, Marafa Sub-County Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Kilifi, Kenya Devolution Support Program 2, County Government of Nyamira, Municipality of Nyamira, County Government of Nyamira, Nyamusi County Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Nyamira, Nyamira County Referral Hospital, County Government of Nyamira, Bomet Municipality, Roret Sub-County Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Kericho. Report of the Auditor General on the financial statements on Machakos County Executive Committee and Chief Officers Car Loan and Mortgage Scheme. Report of the Auditor General on financial statements on Ruiru Juja Water and Sewerage Company Limited. Report of the Auditor General on financial statements on Kiambu County Education Bursary Fund. Report of the Auditor General on financial statements of Kiambu County Executive Staff Mortgage Scheme Fund. Kiambu Water and Sewerage Company Limited, go to Agulu Sub-County Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Siaya, Sigomere Sub-County Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Siaya, Bondo Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Siaya, Yala Sub-County Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Siaya, Shulaimbo County Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Kisumu, Kombwewa County Hospital, County Government of Kisumu, Ahero County Hospital, County Government of Kisumu, Vihiga County Referral Hospital, County Government of Vihiga, Malindi Water and Sewerage Company Limited, Busia County Agricultural Development Fund Limited, Busia County Alcoholic Drinks Control Fund, Busia County Trade Development Revolving Fund, Seoport County Hospital, County Government of Busia, Bungoma County Disaster and Emergency Fund, Management Fund, Bungoma County Trade Development Loans Fund, Shwale Sub-County Hospital, County Government of Bungoma, Busia County Education Support Scheme. Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay.
Thank you. Very well. Next one, Lord.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Next order.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
Next order.
Order number 8, motion, consideration of the report of the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare on a petition to the Senate by employees of the former Kenya Cooperative Creameries Limited, KCC, concerning non-payment of outstanding terminal benefits and 𝗪𝗪𝗁 dues to former employees of Kenya Cooperatives Creameries Limited.
Chairperson, Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare, if he's allowed to, should move the motion. This business has been on the order paper the last couple of days. Order number 8, order number 9, these two motions. So request if there is any committee member on Labor and Social Welfare Committee to move this motion now. Senator Miraj.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move the following motion: the consideration of the report of the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare on a petition to the Senate by employees of the former Kenya Cooperative Creameries Limited, KCC, concerning non-payment of outstanding terminal benefits and 𝗪𝗪𝗁 dues to former employees of Kenya Cooperative Creameries Limited. That the Senate adopts the report of the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare on a petition to the Senate by employees of the former Kenya Cooperative Creameries Limited, KCC, concerning non-payment of outstanding terminal benefits and 𝗪𝗪𝗁 dues to former employees of Kenya Cooperative Creameries Limited, laid on the table of the Senate Thursday, 27th November, 2025. Mr. Speaker, sir, as we sat down as the Committee of Labor of this Honorable House of the Senate, we were made aware of these employees who were laid down, and the liability of their dues was said to have not been part of the new 𝗓𝗓𝗄𝐶. So we called the relevant departments, the Ministry of Trade, and the Attorney General, where we agreed that a judgment was put to place that these members were to be paid their dues in a certain number of days. So I call upon Senator Faki to second this motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Senator Mohamed Faki.
Mheshimiwa Spika, asante kwa kunipa fursa hii, na Senator Miraji kwa hakika amenichukua kighafla kuunga mkono ripoti hii. Lakini Mheshimiwa Spika, nilikuwa mwanachama wa kamati ya leba mpaka mwaka jana nilipohamishwa kupelekwa katika kamati ya ardhi. Mheshimiwa Spika, masuala ya wafanyakazi wa 𝗓𝗓𝗄𝗃 ni mambo ya kusikitisha, kwa sababu hawa ni wafanyakazi ambao walifanya kazi kwa muda wa miaka mingi na shirika la 𝗓𝗓𝗄𝗃. Baadaye shirika lilifilisika, na baada ya kufilisika serikali ikaanzisha shirika jipya la 𝗓𝗓𝗄𝗃 ambalo mpaka sasa linaendelea kufanya kazi. Mheshimiwa Spika, jambo la kusikitisha pia ni kwamba rasilimali za 𝗓𝗓𝗄𝗃 ndio rasilimali ambazo zilipelekwa katika shirika jipya la 𝗓𝗓𝗄𝗃, lakini malumbukizi ya mishahara na pesa ambazo walikuwa wamesave pamoja na pia pensheni zao hazikuweza kupelekwa katika shirika lile jipya. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, wale wafanyakazi wa zamani wa 𝗓𝗓𝗄𝗃 waliachwa nje na wengi wako katika hali ya uchochole hivi sasa. Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kuwa hata zile rasilimali zao ambazo walikuwa wameweka kupitia kwa sako yao pia hazikuweza kulipwa, ambazo hizi ni pesa ambazo dhahiri shahiri kwa zilikuwa ni za wale wafanyakazi ambao walikuwa kwa wamefanya kazi na shirika la 𝗓𝗓𝗄𝗃. Mheshimiwa Spika, swala hili lilipelekwa kwa mkuu wa sheria. Swala hili vile vile pia lilifika mahakamani na mahakama ikasema kwamba wanastahili kulipwa zile pesa ambazo walikuwa wanadai kama mishahara, na vile vile pesa zao za pension na kumbukumbu nyingine ambazo walikuwa wanastahili kulipa. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, hawa wafanyakazi walipokuja mbele ya kamati, serikali walipewa fursa kuja kujitetea, na pia wao hawakutoa mwongozo wote, wakasema tu kwamba hakuna fedha ambazo ziko. Hivi sasa Mheshimiwa Spika, shirika la 𝗓𝗓𝗄𝗃 ni katika mashirika ambayo yako mstari wa mbele kuwa binafsishwa, na serikali pia haijaona umuhimu ya kuwalipa wale wafanyakazi mishahara yao ambao walikuwa wameifanyia kazi kabla ya shirika kufilisika. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi naunga mkono hii ripoti, na serikali katika mapendekezo Mheshimiwa Spika ipewe muda maalumu ya kuweza kuwalipa hawa malumbukizi ya mishahara yao, kwa sababu hakuna faida kwamba sasa shirika la 𝗓𝗓𝗄𝗃 linafanya kazi, serikali imewekeza pesa nyingi, imenunua mitambo ya kisasa ya kuweza kuweka maziwa ili yasiharibike. Vile vile wametoa pesa nyingi za kuweza kulipa wakulima na wafugaji ili maziwa yaweze kupelekwa kwa wingi katika shirika la 𝗓𝗓𝗄𝗃, lakini kulipa wafanyakazi wao Mheshimiwa Spika imekuwa ni donda sugu kwa serikali. Kwa Mheshimiwa Spika, naunga mkono na serikali iwalipe kwa haraka hawa wafanyakazi wa zamani wa 𝗓𝗓𝗄𝗃. Mheshimiwa Spika, kiwanda kimoja cha 𝗓𝗓𝗄𝗃 kiko Mombasa County katika eneo la Miritini karibu na station ya SGR, na ni masikitiko kwamba wale wafanyakazi wa zamani wengi tunawaona kule wanaishi katika hali ya uchochole, wakati serikali inaendelea kuweka pesa katika shirika hili la 𝗓𝗓𝗄𝗃, lakini hawako tayari kuwalipa wafanyakazi wao. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii. Naunga mkono.
Now, sawa. So, honorable senators, I propose the question that the Senate endorse the report of the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare on a petition to the Senate by employees of the former Kenya Cooperative Creameries Limited, KCC, concerning non-payment of outstanding terminal benefits and 𝗪𝗪𝗀𝗁𝗪 dues to former employees of Kenya Cooperative Creameries Limited, laid on the table of the Senate on Thursday, 27th November 2025. Several requests. I open for a debate of this motion. Senator Modigi Alexander Munyi.
Asante Bwana Spika kwa kunipa nafasi niweze kusangia mambo ya hii mjadala kuhusu watu wa KCC. Bwana Spika, nashukuru sana kwa kamati ya LEPA ambaye mimi mmoja wa hiyo kamati kwa ile kazi inaendelea kufanya. Bwana Spika, hawa wazee na kina mama ni wazee wa miaka mingi, na wakati wameteseka kwa miaka mingi waliona ni vizuri kuja kuangalia vile watafaidika katika kamati ya Senate. Bwana Spika, wakati walikuja ni wazee wengine wameseeka hata macho waoni vizuri, na wazee pia watu wengi waliaga katika dunia, watoto wao hawana chochote. Na tunajua Bwana Spika, wakati mtu amefutwa kazi akiwa anapata mshahara, familia yake inakaa vizuri. Bwana Spika, hii pesa haikuwa pesa nyingi, lakini Bwana Spika, wakati KCC iliuzwa ikapatiwa niyo KCC, hii pesa ya wazee hawakuweza kulipwa, na ni kitu ya huzuni sana kwa sababu wametembea, wamekimbia, wameenda mahakamani kona zote, lakini hawakuweza kupata pesa. Bwana Spika, Bwana Spika, sisi tukiwa kamati ya LEPA tuliona ni vizuri tukae chini na wizara zote ya Attorney General, LEPA, wizara ya fedha, ya cooperative, zote tukakaa chini tukasikia maoni. Bwana Spika, tukaangalia tukaona kuna watu wengi, sio KCC peke yake, wameteseka. Kama wase wameteseka, familia zao zimeisha, wengine wametoka katika ulimwenguni, tukasema tutaweza kutetea kuona vile hao wase Bwana Spika na kina mama watapata pesa hela zao, na tukaona ni vizuri tukasikia na tumepitisha waweze kulipwa pesa zao. Kwa sababu tulikuwa nasema hata kama hakukuwa na pesa, Bwana Spika, mtu akiwa na ndeni, hata kama ni nyumbani ama ni kwa kampuni, unaweza kukata shamba, ama kama uko na vitu siweze kuuzwa. Lakini tukaona hiyo hatutawasaidia, lakini vizuri wakati ya mwisho tumepitisha ukaa na treasury na wizara zote, tukaona waweze kutafuta kitu inaitwa dialogue, au waweze kupata pesa zao, na pia iwe funzo kwa wizara zingine zile zimekula pesa za watu wafanyikazi, ndio iwe funzo kwa zile wizara. Kwa hivyo Bwana Spika, sisi tumepitisha hao watu wakae chini na serikali na treasury, na pia na Attorney General, hao wazee na kina mama waweze kulipwa pesa zao. Na Bwana Spika, si pesa nyingi. Tumeona serikali ikipeana pesa hata ikisaidia. Kwa hivyo tunaomba vile hii kamati imepitisha, wizara ya fedha iweze kusaidia watu ndio waweze kupata pesa yao kabla hawajatoka katika duniani hii. Na pia Bwana Spika, wale wengine walitoka katika ulimwenguni huu na duniani hii, familia zao siweze kupata haki, kwa sababu wengine wamevirishika, wengine wamepata shinda. Kwa hiyo Bwana Spika, nikiwa Senator wa Embu County, mambo ya KCC iko katika kaunti kadhaa na iko na watu wengi. Kwa hiyo kwa sababu wanajulikana, Bwana Spika, naunga mkono waweze kulipwa pesa zao. Kwa hivyo mimi nikiwa Senator wa Embu County naomba naunga mkono watu waweze kulipwa pesa zao, na pia itakuwa ni funzo kwa watu wengine, kwa cooperative, kwa sako, kwa makampuni. Muwe mkiangalia mahesabu vizuri, ndio msiweze kuenda na pesa ya wafanyikazi. Kwa hivyo Bwana Speaker, naunga mkono nikiwa Senator wa Embu County, Senator Alexander Mnyi Mundigi Daktari. Asante Bwana Speaker.
Senator Mwanzo Daniel.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this motion and say that the benefit of working as a cooperative secretary in the Republic of Kenya in the Ministry of Cooperatives. And I want to say that KCC and the new KCC and even the SACCO, Maziwa SACCO, all of them fall under the Ministry of Cooperative, which has a very small budget every year. And I want to say that this matter is a very clear matter. Even when the old KCC was sold, the new KCC did not take the liabilities of the old KCC, but their liabilities were obvious and were stated before the sale. And therefore, just like many other institutions in the Republic, there's clear law on this. And although the matter had been to the courts, it is clear that finally the courts ruled in the favor of the claimants. And that once that decision has been made, the only other course of action is that there should be budget. You know, the Minister of Cooperative should now propose a budget to pay these people, not only the levy one, but the estates of the ones who are deceased, because that's part of the property of a deceased person. And therefore, it is important either the Ministry of Cooperatives or this House, during the budget proposal, that this particular budget be proposed, and especially from the Committee on Labor, so that it is a clear indication that this is something which should be budgeted. The Attorney General was part of this. The Attorney General, the Solicitor General should be executing this, so that the rights of these people can be taken care of. And this is not the only corporation which has been sold. Right now, KPC is on sale, and KPC has liabilities. It has employees. Now, the moment you get a new KPC, the new company, are you going to tell us now the same fate will befall the current employees of KPC and any other claimants, like the people of Thange River, who were poisoned by oil spillage in 2015? Are we going to follow the same model of refusing to compensate, even when the courts have given final judgments on a matter, and it has now taken close to 30 years, and these people have not been compensated? We should bring a stop to this so that government institutions take responsibility. The moment the courts have ruled against them and this parliament has pronounced itself, then let the matter go for budgeting and the money is paid to the claimants. It's a rightful claim. It is one of the labor rights of these people. It is a job they have done. It is money they have worked for. And they should be compensated, Mr. Speaker, so that we can live in a just nation. We want a nation of equal opportunities, a nation where every citizen is treated with fairness and feels that the country takes care of their needs, and that the law and the authority and the government does not just use its muscle against these poor people and stamp on them and make sure that their dues are not paid. There's no need to do 𝗦𝗘𝗡 when you have young people, people born of these parents languishing in poverty. There is no need to pay money for all the people when you have people you would have compensated, and then, you know, it's a contradiction. You should just compensate these people. You should compensate before you compensate the old people. So let there be a budget and let these monies be paid. Otherwise, there's no need to do all this program when you are sitting on the rights of other people. Let all Kenyans be equal. It is a way of making sure that wealth is done. Mr. Speaker, I am done.
There is a point of order from Senator Mudigi.
Bwana Spika,
Senator Mudigi amemaliza. Kwa hivyo, labda you want a clarification. What do you want? Point of order you can't prosecute now. Maybe a point of clarification or something else.
nataka nimwelezee kidogo tu Bwana Spika.
Lakini hayuko kwa sakafu.
Bwana Spika, ukinipatia ruhusa haku amekaa chini. Nataka nimjibu ni clarification. Bwana Spika.
No, utaratibu uruhusu tena ufungue hilo jambo. Yeah, next is Senator 𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗘𝗏 Paul. Yes, Senator. Yes, just a minute, Senator 𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏.
Mheshimiwa Spika, nataka kumuuliza Senator Manzo. Je, ni sawa kuwa na nyota bila ya mwezi?
Iza vipi?
Namuuliza, amezungumzia mambo ya nyota. Namuuliza, je, unaweza kuzungumzia nyota bila ya mwezi?
Senator Manzo.
Mr. Speaker, the stars in the creation theory, and I'm sure it is in the Quran and also in the Bible, the stars existed even before the moon and the sun were created. So the stars were already there. All that I'm saying, the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya must be followed. The country must be seen to be fair. The government must compensate these people. And that's why they have come to the Ministry of Labor, to the Committee of Labor. And this committee must order the Ministry of Labor to make a budget and pay these people. Otherwise, there's no need to debate here if these people will never be provided for. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mudigi, what is it? What clarification are you seeking?
Bwana Spika, umepatia Senator Manzu for clarification. Ningemjibu kidogo tu. Kuna tofauti ya nyota na mambo ya KCC. Mambo ya KCC, Bwana Spika, ni watu walifanya kazi mbaya kwa kampuni, na kuna tofauti ya KCC na mambo ya nyota. Vile rais wa Kenya ameona asaidie vijana wetu na anasaidia katika kaunti 47. Na hii KCC, wale watu walikuwa pale walikuwa wesi. Kwa hivyo wesi linganisha KCC na mambo ya serikali ya Kenya Kwanza, serikali ya muungano, mambo ya nyota. Tafadhali Bwana Spika.
Wewe ni mwanachama wa kamati ya riba, sio? Kwa ripoti imesema hao wafanyikazi walikuwa wezi, ama umetoa hiyo wapi?
Spika, ni vile ilikuwa njibu Manzo kwa sababu alilinganisha KCC na mambo ya nyota. Hapo hakuna mahali inaingiana. Kwa sababu ile ni pesa iliporwa. Bwana Spika.
Hapo ameelewa vizuri. Okay, Senator Karungo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. As I rise to support the motion and support the report by the Labour Committee, Mr. Speaker, even before I give my contribution, today is Ash Wednesday. I'm a Catholic, and this is today marks the beginning of Lent. And for the first time in the history of Christianity and Islamic, Mr. Speaker, our Lent period has coincided with Ramadan. So you can imagine, Mr. Speaker, that both Christians and Muslims, they are fasting for the first time, I think, for a long, long time in this month of Ramadan and month of Lent. So this is the time that this country will receive a lot of blessings, because together we are doing one thing at the same time. Mr. Speaker, it is very sad for the workers or ex-employees of KCC to fight for their dues, which are legally embedded in their job description or the laws or Employment Act, Transfer of Businesses Act, Mr. Speaker. And they've been speaking about their dues amounting, Mr. Speaker, to 204 million. That is 109 million as terminal benefits and 92 million Kenya shillings as outstanding SACCO dues. Mr. Speaker, these people are asking for what is rightly theirs. They were paid by KCC, then they contributed that amount to a SACCO that is called Maziwa SACCO. They never got their dues. So you can imagine they have lost what they had earned, and of course they also are losing the terminal benefits, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is an easy exercise, but you can see it is going round and round. I believe the amount of money that has been used to litigate, to look for solution, is more than what these people are claiming, Mr. Speaker. Because they have gone to court, the labor court, of course, ruled in their favor, and they said they should pay it. New KCC went back to court, and the Court of Appeal overruled the previous ruling by the court of the labor court, Mr. Speaker. But the appeal court said that they should be compensated. They even told the Attorney General, Mr. Speaker, that he should come up with a process or a system or a way of making sure that those who are owed by KCC must be paid, Mr. Speaker. You can see this issue is involving so many ministries, Mr. Speaker. The Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, the Ministry of Cooperatives and SMEs, the National Treasury, the new KCC itself, the Attorney General, and now we are here at the Senate speaking about the same issue, Mr. Speaker. And if you look, if I can be able to open from this system, Mr. Speaker, if you look at the recommendation by the committee, Mr. Speaker, I'm looking for it so that I can read it. You know, we have a new system here, Mr. Speaker, which is giving us this kind of reports as we progress. Mr. Speaker, it's saying that the Ministry of Labor should invoke the processes of having interministerial meetings, Mr. Speaker, so that these people can be paid. It has also said that EACC should investigate the former directors of KCC, and especially for them to explain how they used the loan of about 400 million Kenyan shillings, Mr. Speaker. And this is a reminder to every Kenyan, and especially those who are being nominated by the president at the moment, right, left, and center, Mr. Speaker, that you might think you're on the president's side, but when the time catch up with you, Mr. Speaker, the law will come after you, Mr. Speaker, because you see the committee already has said that those directors should be investigated. Some of them are old, some of them died long time ago, Mr. Speaker, but can you imagine having worked as a director at KCC and 70, 30, 40 or 20 years later, the government is coming after you, Mr. Speaker. So this is a wake-up call that anybody who is working for any Kenyan parastatal, any government parastatal, that a time will come that you'll have to stand and answer questions. It doesn't matter whether the president is your friend or the current government is your friend. One day you will stand and explain what you did when you are serving in a certain position, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want this House, as we support this motion, Mr. Speaker, to think of it this way. Imagine waking up, getting a job, and working for so many years in a government parastatal. Then after you do that, Mr. Speaker, you leave the work, or you retire, or there is restructuring, or the company that you have been working for, the parastatal you have been working for, has been merged or has been dissolved, and then you go home, Mr. Speaker, without anything. Not your benefits, not the money you contributed to a SACCO that was supposed to assist you, Mr. Speaker. Because, Mr. Speaker, it's only in Kenya where workers and employees retire from work, but their pension or their dues refuse to retire, Mr. Speaker. Because this is an issue that has been spoken, has been, discussed by ministries, by courts, by the Senate, and still alive, Mr. Speaker. Those who, the employees, those who are asking for the Senate through the petition to at least try to help them, Mr. Speaker, most of them died, Mr. Speaker. Their children suffered. Maybe they never went to good schools, Mr. Speaker. And here we are. But, Mr. Speaker, as we ask for them to be paid, as we ask for them to get their dues, we should also look into it that, Mr. Speaker, that we don't lose public funds. Because sometimes some people might say we act for KCC, probably they never worked, or others want to make money from this issue, Mr. Speaker. But I can tell you, owing to the fact that I know how this government works, these dues are legitimate, Mr. Speaker. Because if there is anything for the government to eat, they could have paid them, Mr. Speaker. If the government was making money from these people, they could have paid them. But because the government, or those who are in government, or this regime is unable to milk anything from these dues, that's why they're delaying it, Mr. Speaker. They should pay them today. And I concur with Senator Manzo that the Treasury should come up with a one-time fund, remittance fund, Mr. Speaker, so that they can pay them. And we should not wait, Mr. Speaker. We should not wait. We should be given timelines when they're supposed to pay them, Mr. Speaker. Because it is very sad. And this is a wake-up call to this House, that we should look, as a recommendation by the committee, that we should look into the Transfer of Businesses Act, Mr. Speaker. Because before you transfer businesses, the former employees should be given their dues. Before you transfer anything, Mr. Speaker, the employees should be given their dues. Because you cannot say we are new KCC, that we don't know about the older KCC. Then that will not be justice to those people who worked at the cases, Mr. Speaker. We need to verify the claims to protect the funds. We need to ring-fence funds, one-time settlement fund, Mr. Speaker. And finally, workers should not suffer because of restructuring. We should always make sure that workers benefit. And the parastatals that the president is saying that he's going to sell, like the Kenya pipeline and others, Mr. Speaker, we should make sure those employees there get their benefits before any restructuring is done, before any merger is done. And I even call upon people at Safaricom, if the government is going to do what it has been promising, selling Safaricom, we will have the same issue here again. So before any restructuring is done, before any sale is done, Mr. Speaker, they must make sure that workers are given priority, they're given their benefits, they're given their money. And I believe also, Mr. Speaker, the next thing you're going to see here is the employees of NHIF, because when the SHA came, there was restructuring, and they're also complaining behind closed doors, Mr. Speaker. So very soon they'll come here. So I think it is good for us as a Senate to look into those acts, that is the Employees Act, Employment Act, and the Transfer of Business Act, Mr. Speaker. I support the motion.
Next is Senator Wabua Enoch, Deputy Minority Leader.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to also make my comments in regard to the motion before us. Mr. Speaker, I will begin by wishing our Catholic brothers and sisters and the Catholic faithful happy Ash Wednesday at the beginning of the month of Lent. To the Catholics in Kitui County, led by our Bishop Joseph Mongela, and indeed the Catholics in the country, I wish them happy Ash Wednesday and prosperity in the month of Lent, and at the same time also wish our brothers and sisters, the Muslim community, happy Ramadan. Mr. Speaker, having said that, I want to say a few things about the motion before us. I've had the opportunity as Speaker to look at the report by the committee. And the Speaker, we must all be taken aback that 20 years down the line, we have former employees of an institution known by law and running legally that have been denied access to their own benefits and their own dues, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, some of these things can only happen in Kenya, honestly, where people put in their labor, people are deducted money from their salaries for their final benefits, including deductions to the SACCO, and somebody just wakes up and says, we don't know who you are and we cannot pay you. Mr. Speaker, it's a contradiction that we are all thinking and working very hard to move this nation to a middle-income economy. I don't want to talk about where we are being told we will go, but Mr. Speaker, how do we get to middle-income level when we cannot even do the basics of respecting people's rights and paying people what is due to them? Mr. Speaker, when you look at those terminal benefits and the Maziwa SACCO dues and the amounts due to the Provident Fund, it is not so much money, Mr. Speaker. It is not money that cannot be paid. As Senator Thangwa said, the terminal benefits is just 109 million Kenya shillings. Maziwa SACCO dues is 92 million. The money owed to the Provident Fund is 2 million Kenya shillings. The Speaker, surely if there was goodwill on the part of government, on the part of the new KCC, these are dues that are payable. The Speaker, I want to imagine what these former employees of KCC are going through. 20 years of waiting for monies that are genuinely and legitimately due to them, and money not coming. These are people who have children, even grandchildren to take to school. They have also bills to clear. They have to put a meal on the table, and they're not asking, Mr. Speaker, for anything that is not legitimately due to them. The Speaker allowed me to say this about the recommendations that I have seen made by the committee. I respect the committee. I respect all members of this House. But, Mr. Speaker, I would have wanted to see stronger recommendations by the committee, especially on matters relating to the prayer by the petitioners. Because you see, the committee has been sucked into generalities and made recommendations about the future, what needs to happen in the future to prevent a situation where an occurrence like this one comes back. Mr. Speaker, I've seen that the committee has recommended certain changes or amendments to two specific laws, the Employment Act and the Transfer of Business Act. That is okay, Mr. Speaker. That is good for the future. I have seen the committee is making recommendations on what advisories the AG should give to government and government institutions when confronted by similar situations in future. That is okay, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, you see, if you change this law in 6 months, in 2 years, and we know how much time it takes to push legislation in Kenyan Parliament, how will that help the prayer of the petitioners, Mr. Speaker? The ruling by the Court of Appeal, it's a very interesting ruling, and I am very happy that my leader is in the House. Justice retired 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪. Maybe he will explain to this country how justice is dispensed in our courts. Mr. Speaker, here is a ruling that, first of all, nullifies the decision of the lower court and says that these employees should not be paid their terminal benefits and their 𝗪𝗁 dues. But in the same ruling, Mr. Speaker, the judges are saying, we are urging the AG to issue an advisory to the government to pay these employees because the government had committed to pay and these people have suffered for a long time. Mr. Speaker, if the judges made a determination that these people have suffered for a long time and that they should be paid, why not just issue a ruling and say, uphold the decision of the lower court and get these people to be paid their money, Mr. Speaker? There's nobody who is saying that these people never worked for KCC. There's nobody who is saying that these people did not make a contribution to the 𝗪𝗁. I mean, the reasons for not paying is because the new KCC says we did not get this company. We did not inherit these employees from KCC. We had an agreement with the Kenya Commercial Bank, which was the receiver of KCC. Mr. Speaker, surely, where will these people get justice? Should they now go to the receiver and ask for their money? Mr. Speaker, I want to challenge the Labor Court, the Labor Committee, to seriously consider those recommendations, because this is a live matter. There are human beings here who are suffering. There are staff recommendations that this committee should have made, and even when you're making these recommendations about what needs to happen, I see you have unleashed EACC on KCC. But EACC has not been unleashed to go and look into the prayers of the petitioners. You have asked EACC to go and look into the corruption that was prevalent at KCC, and you have told them to go and look into the 400 million loan that led to the collapse of the original KCC. The Speaker, that does not help the prayer of the petitioners. What will help the prayers of the petitioners is to get somebody to pay what is due to these former employees of KCC. And Mr. Speaker, it is wrong, as I go to conclude. It is wrong, Mr. Speaker, for a public entity, as I said, known to law and operating legitimately, to be taken over by a new administration, and the new administration says, we don't know you are former employees. Now, Speaker, if we allow this to happen with the KCC, which morphed into new KCC, what will happen, Mr. Speaker, tomorrow when Kenya Pipeline Corporation Company is taken over by another entity? Somebody will wake up and say, we don't know the former employees of Kenya Pipeline. What will happen, Mr. Speaker, if tomorrow the KICC is taken up by another team of managers or another company? Somebody will wake up and say, I don't know the former employees of KICC. So the Labor Committee, I urge you, Chairman of the Labor Committee and your members, I plead with you, don't create that loophole by failing to make strict recommendations on what needs to happen to the former employees of KCC. Make demands to the relevant institutions to ensure that these people get their dues. Mr. Speaker, you and I, Mr. Speaker, have been engaged on the matter of the compensation of former councillors. And it's very unfortunate, Mr. Speaker, that even our former colleague, the CS Treasury, when he was a member of the National Assembly, he made at least 2 attempts to push for the compensation of former councillors. And when he was elevated to the level of CS Treasury, you and I were very happy, Mr. Speaker. I remember we were having tea at the lounge and we were very happy. We were saying now our councillors will finally be paid. Because the man that we were fighting with to ensure that these former councillors are paid is now the man in charge. The man who was making prayers to the Treasury to pay the former councillors is now the man who has the final word say on the payment of the former councillors. The Speaker, to our dismay, that man has completely refused to pay former councillors. And here, Mr. Speaker, there is a resolution of this House that, Mr. Speaker, says they should be given a one-off honorarium. They should be supported for their medical schemes. Mr. Speaker, this country, we must begin to operate like human beings who care about other people. It cannot just be about us. It must also be about other people. Mr. Speaker, with those remarks, I support the motion, but I would ask the Labour Committee to really relook at those recommendations and make sure that these people get justice. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
And now the chairman of the Labour Committee is in the House. I hope you are following up a debate from the senators and also taking notes. Next is Senator Medu John.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to rise and support this particular report and motion by the Labour Committee. And please allow me, Mr. Speaker, to join my colleagues in wishing the Catholics a happy Ash Wednesday as they start their Lent season. I'm not so sure, but I think Ramadan is also has also started or is starting, so I also wish our brothers a happy Ramadan. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am half-hearted, just like Senator Wambua. I am half-hearted of what to say about the recommendations in this particular petition that had been sought by former KCC employees, Mr. Speaker, because first, this is an extremely sad case and situation. It is, and I want to correct Senator Wambua, who actually said that the wait was a 20-year wait. It's actually not a 20-year wait. This is the 22nd year since KCC was transferred, or the assets of KCC were transferred to the new KCC, Mr. Speaker. And looking at the recommendations that have been made by the Labour Committee, with tremendous respect to the chair, the committee members, and every senator who is in this House, Mr. Speaker, I actually feel that the prayers that have been sought by the petitioners have honestly not been addressed by the recommendations that have been made by the committee. They have made 4 recommendations, Mr. Speaker, and the only one which actually attempts to resolve and answer the prayer is recommendation A, and I'll read, Mr. Speaker. The Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Cooperative and Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Development fast-tracks the workings of the Interministerial Committee to validate the claims and develop a concrete time-bound settlement plan for the former KCC employees and provide monthly reports to the committee until the matter is resolved. Mr. Speaker, this just looks like the recommendations that were made by the Court of Appeal when they were overturning the decision of the lower court, the Labour Committee, Mr. Speaker, that had actually granted the prayers of the petitioners to, Mr. Speaker, pay the dues that were owed, or rather that are owed to the former employees of the KCC, Mr. Speaker. In the recommendations that were made by the Court of Appeal was that the Attorney General should, and I don't know, Mr. Speaker, the consultations here are quite loud. I know
Majority Whip, you are really intercepting the thinking of the Honorable Senator for Nyandaro. His flow of mind is not commensurate to what he is trying to put on paper.
Yeah, and you know, Mr. Speaker, Senator Legwe is my neighbor and my leader. And I always tell him that if he disrupts me here, if I close the road to 𝗓𝗏𝗊𝗏, Senator Lerugwe cannot get to Samburu. He has only one route to go to Samburu, so he must align. So, Mr. Speaker, as I was actually, yeah, and he doesn't like flying, so he has no route of going to Samburu if I close the road through 𝗓𝗏𝗊𝗏. So, Mr. Speaker, as I was actually saying, the recommendations of the Court of Appeal were that the
Senator Medo, kindly request the three senators who are actually between me and you contributing should take their seats. Senator Relengwe, kindly. The clerks will sort your issue. Senator Relengwe. Amom was now saying also the Director Rugo is out of order. Senator Relengwe, please have your seat. Senator Medu.
And I don't know the Speaker whether it is correct. Okay, let me say it as a point of information. He actually doesn't like not being referred to minus his title. He's Senator Dr. Lelegwe. Yeah, so he tells me to keep calling him Doctor. Mr. Speaker, the recommendations of the Court of Appeal, and I'm looking for them on this report because they have been made here, were that the Attorney General ought to advise the government to honor its word and pay the former employees who have suffered for a long time. Mr. Speaker, I'm actually very surprised that these three-judge bench actually observed that these workers have suffered for a long time. But they went ahead and just make a recommendation. This recommendation was not binding. And I understand where Senator Mbugua and his committee were actually getting a handicap, because you are overturning this decision, but you're not offering solution. This decision was made in 2018. The decision of the Court of Appeal was actually arrived at in 2018. That is now a total of 8 years to this minute, and nothing has actually happened, because had these people been paid, as was the recommendation, and you know, Mr. Speaker, people go to court to get a determination. And when we get this kind of recommendation, Mr. Speaker, they are ambiguous, and they cannot be effected, Mr. Speaker. And we are staring at an extremely precarious situation, Mr. Speaker, by the mere fact, Mr. Speaker, that since this particular regime came into power, you know, the issue of privatization is actually a live matter. There is even a privatization, either privatization committee or privatization commission. I'm not sure, but I think there is one. Yeah, it's a privatization commission that is supposed to look at the government parastatals that can actually be privatized. And so therefore, we are staring at a situation where workers who have actually served and worked, deductions have been made on their salaries. They have made contributions to their circles, Mr. Speaker. Just assume that, for example, 𝗓𝗏𝗏𝗏 is being privatized, is being given to a new proprietor, Mr. Speaker, and the new proprietor would just take all the other obligations apart from these dues that are owed by the workers, Mr. Speaker, and their personal contributions, Mr. Speaker. Because when new KCC was formed from the receivership that was under KCB, Mr. Speaker, they were able to pay the farmers. They paid all the other monies that were owed to the banks, Mr. Speaker. They paid all the other suppliers. The only people who are not paid, Mr. Speaker, are their former employees, Mr. Speaker, which is an extremely sad situation, Mr. Speaker, that they have had to wait for 22 years, Mr. Speaker. As I come to winding up, Mr. Speaker, let me also mention, I have seen, and I was just thinking in my mind, recommendation number 4, Senator Mbugua and your committee. I have seen that recommendation number 4 is that the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission and the Directorate of Criminal Investigation, within 6 months of tabling of this report, investigates mismanagement and fund misappropriation by former KCC directors, particularly the 400 million loan that caused the company's collapse. Mr. Speaker, that recommendation on the face of it looks very flowery. But I'm wondering how that recommendation can actually be implemented, Mr. Speaker. I don't even know, because 2004 is not the other day. I actually just remembered that I think 2004 I must have been a class 5 boy. So I'm wondering, Mr. Speaker, 22 years later after the committing of this crime is when we are asking EACC to investigate, Mr. Speaker. Are these people actually even alive? Are these directors who are directors of new KCC 2004 actually alive so that we can investigate them, Mr. Speaker? Is this money that, is this a recommendation actually that can be effected? How come, Mr. Speaker, a crime was committed 22 years ago and not even the labor court where the employees first went to in 2013, not even the Court of Appeal made this recommendation. This recommendation is being made at the Senate in, I think today is the 18th, on the 19th of February 2026, Mr. Speaker. This is 22 years later, is when we are recommending that directors of old KCC are now investigated by EACC, Mr. Speaker, 22 years later. I'm surprised, Mr. Speaker. I'm actually wondering in my mind whether these directors are actually still alive, so that we can because if they are dead, Mr. Speaker, I don't think they can be actually investigated. However, Mr. Speaker, since we must try and cure this challenge because it's a major challenge, I want to agree with the recommendations that have been made by the committee, especially the recommendation on the amendment of the Transfer of Business Act, Mr. Speaker. This must be something that we must consider because we are the people who have been tasked with the responsibility of ensuring that we make our laws better. That is our work, Mr. Speaker. Every day we come here, Mr. Speaker, is to make the lives of the people of Kenya better, Mr. Speaker. It must be recommended, and we must move an amendment, Mr. Speaker, that as you move, as you transfer a business, Mr. Speaker, as you transfer all the other financial obligations that you are transferred to the new business, Mr. Speaker, one key component that must be considered, number one, is the contribution of employees, and number two is their pension. And for those who qualify for, I know that one has actually evaporated. The one that is given for employees that are on contract. I remember it, Mr. Speaker. But contributions that have been made, Mr. Speaker, on your, the ones that have been made, you have been making every month, Mr. Speaker, it cannot be that you have served an institution for 10 years, 15 years. Then it is transferred to a new person. The new person says that I don't know where you're contributing. I can't pay your pension. I can't pay your dues, Mr. Speaker. This is an extremely sad and something that must be looked into. Finally, it is the receivership regulations, because this challenge that we're having of these new KCC workers, Mr. Speaker, is birthed out of the receivership that KCC underwent through KCB, Mr. Speaker, because it is KCB which sold the assets of KCC to new KCC, Mr. Speaker. As they were selling the assets, Mr. Speaker, all the other issues, Mr. Speaker, of the financial obligations that the old KCC actually carried were not transferred to the new KCC, Mr. Speaker. They only transferred the debts of the farmers, the debt owed to the banks, Mr. Speaker, the debt owed to all the other suppliers, Mr. Speaker, but the contributions by employees, Mr. Speaker, is something that, something actually that got lost along the transfer. Maybe finally, and I know I'll run at a very, very, very immediate risk from the people on my right, this money, in my opinion, Mr. Speaker, is not a lot of money. And I know most of my colleagues have actually spoken about it. This money, 109 million, Mr. Speaker, that are terminal dues owed to employees, Mr. Speaker, I think it's not a lot of money. Looking at how our government is spending money, looking at the endowment of how the government dishes and gives money, Mr. Speaker, forget about the money that is in the mainstream budget, Mr. Speaker. If you look at the activities that are happening in State House every day, Mr. Speaker, and the kind of money that is spent there every day, Mr. Speaker, if you look at how the budgets of State House, the Office of the President, and how the budgets are growing, Mr. Speaker, 109 million is little money. Is very, very little money. This is money that the President can actually give in a day. If he can give to a church 50 million one day, how much would it cost him to just give this money to people who have served this country so diligently, who have waited for 22 years after serving this nation, Mr. Speaker. We cannot just be supporting mediocrity, and when important and critical expenditures come, Mr. Speaker, we have to take people through now the Labor Court, Mr. Speaker, next the Court of Appeal, Mr. Speaker. Now they are here in the Senate, Mr. Speaker, looking at the recommendations. There is no clear and concrete resolution that we have made that looks like they can get this money next week, next year. The kind of thing that has been recommended here, Mr. Speaker, if you have read it, is that interministerial report will be coming here until we get a concrete resolution for the next 6 months. That's what has been recommended here, Mr. Speaker. So it is another forum of waiting. They'll have to keep waiting a little longer. I don't know how old those people would be, but assuming they were sacked at 40 years, they are now at 62. So in the next 10 years, they will be 70, they will be almost exiting. I want to stop there, Mr. Speaker. I support the report.
Honorable Senators, you know, I've listened keenly to members contributing to this motion, and it looks like members are not happy with the recommendations. So, you know, this motion is a property of the House, of the Senate. So instead of still lamenting and being so unhelpful to yourself and to these workers, KCC workers, still you can recommend, and the committee will be agreeable to the recommendations as long as they sit well with also the deliberations. You can still recommend, give further recommendations, because that is why we are here. Not to lament, not to cry, not to weep, but to give solutions to Kenyans. So the chairman is here, he is also recording your recommendations. You can still further go and do more recommendations which are acceptable to the House. So next is Senator 𝗬𝗓𝗓𝗓.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, it is very important that today the Muslim faith is starting their Ramadan. Therefore, it makes it an holy month for a swath of majority of our people in the country, as well as the month of Lent to the Catholic faith. And therefore, you get that most of our people today in the country are in a very religious and spiritual mode for the month. And this is a month that you would expect that good things happen to good people, and good things also happen to bad people, because God is a God of everyone. And I want to wish the Christians who are of Catholic faith the very best of this month, as well as my brothers in the Islamic faith, the very best in this Ramadan, as they say, Ramadan Kareem. Mr. Speaker, in the spirit of that, it is extremely sad, Mr. Speaker, that employees of former KCC, that worked up to 1997 to date have not been paid their dues. Mr. Speaker, between 1997 when KCC became defunct and then we add this new KCC, Mr. Speaker, you will get that between that 1997 and now, many things have happened in this country. We have gone, in 1997 we had a general election, we had a different president at that time. That president, God rest his soul in his peace, has since died. In 2002, we had another president, President Kibaki, who served this country, and God rest his soul in peace, he has since died. In 2007, we had Kibaki, and then we have had President Uhuru Kenyatta, who has served and left, and now we've got President Ruto. In all those regimes, no regime ever thought about dealing with this issue.
Between that time and now, the former KCC worked under a different constitution, which was a colonial constitution that did not care about the dignity of the people in our country. Yet, Mr. Speaker, between now and that time, we have since had a new constitution. And this new constitution is a constitution that was built on dignity of the people, Mr. Speaker. If you look at Article 159 on what we call judicial authority, Mr. Speaker, and I say this because when I read the report, three government officials appeared before this committee. The first one to appear before this committee was the Attorney General. And the Attorney General, when he was asked why these people for the last 29 years have not gotten their terminal dues, have not gotten their benefits, have not gotten their wages at that time, and have not gotten their contribution gotten by sheer sweat in their labor at that time and then contributed to a scheme that they were supposed to contribute to. They have not gotten their dues up to date. What did the Attorney General say? He deferred to a court ruling that brought what we call judicial technicality. What did the CS of Treasury say to this committee? And this is a CS that I'm disappointed because I'm from ODM and we donated him to the Kenya Kwanza government as an expert. What is the response that the report shows us? That CS Mbadi had the audacity to say that they cannot pay this money or even plan for it because there's a legal technicality. Then the CS for cooperative, again, an expert from our side, also appeared before this committee and had the audacity to tell this committee that there's a judicial technicality. What does this new constitution say about judicial authority that we are given just as much as the judiciary is given? If you read Article 159, 2D, it says that justice shall be administered without undue regard to procedural technicalities. Because by the time these petitions were coming to us as a house, they had explored every possible avenue of judicial authority. They had explored a lower court that ruled to their favor, and then the second court of appeal ruled against them. And therefore they reached to this house as the only last source of recourse to them. And then what's happening in this house that I'm seeing, Mr. Speaker? Senators lamenting. Senators lamenting that there's nothing they can do. I do respect the committees of this house. But surely, when people who, their children right now have got their children, people who worked by 1997 in KCC, their children are now maybe those who gave birth on that date when KCC was dissolved. Today are approaching 30 years, meaning they have got children themselves. Meaning that these are people who have accrued a lot of problems, even while educating their children, by serious loans and other kind of dubious work that they have to do, meager earnings that they have had to earn for the last 30 years to take their kids to school. Surely this house must be the house of recourse to them. And the money in question, Mr. Speaker, is actually 205 million, if you round it off. Because there is 100 plus a few coins on terminal dues, but these people were contributing to a circle. They were contributing to a circle. Mr. Speaker, I've dealt with a number of issues in CPIC, where people contribute to circles, and people are also deducted their statutory deductions that are never remitted to respective institutions. This brings me to saying that while the petition number 1299 of 2013 was a civil petition, and I agree with what Justice 𝗪𝗪𝗀𝗲 did pronounce himself on this labor court and saying that these people must be paid on that petition that was put together by John Barry. Between 2013 and 2018, when the civil appeal 191 of the Court of Appeal squashed the ruling of Justice 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗲, that is a whooping 5 years. that the new KCC did not take action on the recommendation of the court by Justice 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏. What is that in law? It's criminal. It's court contempt. So the first thing I was expecting the committee to do is to interrogate what happened in those years. Why didn't KCC, the new KCC, take action on the court decision by Justice 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏? What were they hiding? And those people who were at that time the administrators of this institution must appear before this house and explain to this house why didn't they pay for those 5 years a court ruling that was clear about paying those people who were supposed to be paid. That's the first question. The second question that I was expecting in the recommendation on this issue, Mr. Speaker, if I've contributed to a SACCO, I've put my money, I'm a member of a SACCO today, I'm a member of PACOSO here, I contribute religiously to this SACCO. I know that I might not withdraw all my monies, and I know I'm entitled to a number of things. But if this SACCO should come to me and tell me that they are closing the SACCO, there's no money in that SACCO, there's somebody who was administering my money in that SACCO. If they don't have my money, then they must tell me where that money has gone to. If it has been stolen, I must be told that it has been stolen. So that, again, is a criminal offense, in my view, that must be treated as such. And this house must be able to invite those people on a criminal matter. They took the money of these employees in the Maziwa SACCO because they are contributions. The third issue, Mr. Speaker, is the issue.
Senator Eddie.
Yes.
Do you wish to be informed by Senator of Kitui?
The Senator of Kitui can always inform me because he's my leader in the House. I still respect him as my leader in the House.
Very
the
well.
only thing I'm not so sure whether he was working for KCC, but he should inform us at that time also whether he was around.
Speaker, I'm not sure whether the Senator from Migori wants to be informed by a former employee of KCC or his leader. I'm informing him as a colleague. Speaker, even if the money that the employees contributed to the SACCO was stolen, that money should have been insured. Yes. So there is no question of any loss of any deductions by any employee. There can never be an escape route for the people that collected this money. No escape route at all, at all. I think you speak.
Mr. Speaker, this is why I'm telling you that I like it when my leaders inform me, because their wisdom surpass some of us who just came to this house recently. You know, he's a ranking member and he's going to be a governor in Kitui. And I think that information is in order, Mr. Speaker, that there should have been all possible ways put to make sure that those contributions are safe. I think that's the point that my senior is sharing here. And I think it is in order, that information is in order, because, Mr. Speaker, if you read Article 41 of the Constitution, under labor relations, it says every person has the right to fair labor practices. Among those, it says that every worker has got the right to fair remuneration, has got a right to reasonable working conditions, and then if you go all the way to 4, it says they have got a right to join any trade organizations, and any employer has the right also to engage them in a collective bargain agreement, as well as to determine its own administration and programs and activities, and to organize and to form and to join any federation. So the employers at that time had all the power to make sure that those contributions could actually be protected through an insurance scheme. But that said, Mr. Speaker, there is even a bigger question of between 1997 to date, if that money has not been given to these people, and we are assuming that if they are not insured, they are still sitting somewhere, Mr. Speaker, it goes without saying that they are accruing interest. even if it is interest in the best in the best interest of the company or to the employees, these monies must be availed. So, Mr. Speaker, there's an issue here that is very silent, despite the fact that I respect the orders of the court, and the court sometimes does rule according to whichever filing that is given to them. For instance, in the petition number 199 of 2018, the Court of Appeal took this as a civil matter. But, Mr. Speaker, I see a lot of criminality here. There's a lot of criminality in this matter that I wish that the committee should handle as such. Make criminal recommendations. I know there is one that you've recommended that perhaps DCI or EACC should take the matter and investigate further. But where you want to go and investigate this thing further, the people who are affected are still suffering. If for 30 years they have not gotten any recourse, even in court, how do we as a house wash our hands and say, let the DCI or EACC further interrogate this matter? Mr. Speaker, we have got all the instruments of law to be able to bring this issue to conclusion and be able to compel those who are responsible to actually pay these people. Because, Mr. Speaker, if you look at the Employment Act, Section 35, 1C, on termination of contracts, it talks, first of all, about notices that must be given within 28 days. And when those notices are given to people, that section says that they must get their immediate wages and benefits that are due to them at the time of termination. Where am I going with this, Mr. Speaker? If the claim of the courts as is that there was a new organization that came in called the new KCC that took over the former KCC. What happens in corporate practice is that when an organization of corporate nature takes or merges or acquires another organization, then it goes without saying that the ruling element of transaction is the balance sheet. It's the balance sheet of that company. What is there in the balance sheet? It is liabilities and assets of that company. You can't say that I bought this company, I'm restructuring it, and I'm only taking the assets of it. I'm going to benefit on those, but the liabilities don't concern me. If this termination happened legally, which it did in 1997, then it goes without saying that if that institution did not have money, the way it was ruled in the Court of Appeal, that it was under receivership, then it was under receivership because in its balance sheet, this appeared as a liability. So if you took over the liabilities and assets of that company and you're existing now, what argument do you have to tell us that you cannot be able to pay these people? You must pay them because it's part of your liabilities in your books. Even as you continue to build your cash flow and build your business now, then they must be paid. So I want to request, Mr. Speaker, that this committee, to further finish on this particular recommendation, those people who are running the institution now must appear before this House. We are not going to throw the baby with the bathwater and say that this thing should go to another institution to do further investigation and make the people, the former employees of KCC, keep on suffering. Let them appear before this House. Let those people who have got issues of criminal nature, who ate the money of those who are in Maziwa Sacco, be handled in this House. And then let us do a proper recommendation to ODPP to rein on some people, Mr. Speaker, who actually took the money of these people. So while I support this report to the Labor Committee team, I want to request the chair that make it concrete to the extent that justice can be served by this House, because it seems like those employees cannot get recourse in courts. They have gone to 2 courts. One agrees with them. One recommends that the ministry should take action, and the ministry is lying on a technicality of law. And by the way, we as a House, in such matters, I want to remind you, Chair, that we as a House in such matters, under Article 125 of the Constitution, we actually also sit as a court. So we can make a judicial decision. However quasi it might look like, it is a judicial decision. So let's bank on Article 159, remove technicalities in the pursuit of justice, because these people came to this house to get justice, and we must be able to serve them just justice. So let's avoid technicalities. Let's invite these people in a committee of the whole, and let's deal with it. Where criminal matter appears to be, we say it as such, and ask the ODPP to take action. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, as I support this, and I hope that we will make this report more concrete and let those people get justice that they deserve for such a long time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Senator 𝗪𝗓𝗂𝗓𝗂𝗓.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. From the onset, as I support the motion that has been brought, so Speaker, allow me with tremendous respect to wish our Muslims and brothers of Muslim faith all the best as they begin the Ramadan as the holy season. So Speaker, coincidentally, this is also Ash Wednesday for the Catholic faithful and the beginning of Lent season. And as a country, we are honored to have a wonderful, cohesive living together as one nation, one people, with different religious background, and that interfaith, so Speaker, is what makes Kenya unique and strong. So, Mr. Speaker, I hope as we reflect on this season and many other things, Mr. Speaker, it should be an honor. Mr. Speaker, we are normally told that almost 100% of Kenyans are religious, either Christian, Muslim, or Hindu. But there are many things that still face this country, including corruption and many other things. I think this session, Mr. Speaker, should be a session of reflection that will ensure all of us live according to our dictates of the religion. So Ramadan Kareem to all our brothers and sisters, and also a wonderful Lent season to the Catholic faithful. Mr. Speaker, from the onset, I've read the committee report, and I want to thank the chair of Labour, the distinguished senator from West Pokot, on the issue of this payment to both KCC and the issue of new KCC Limited, and the payment of their deductions, Speaker, and terminal dues. So, Speaker, let me start from when this matter was filed between the Labour Court and the Court of Appeal. There was an interlude of 5 years. Mr. Speaker, I would have expected that the new KCC management and even the receivership should and must have been, Mr. Speaker, subjected to contempt proceedings of the court, because they clearly violated the court order that demanded that the employees should and must be paid their terminal dues, including the SACCO dues to Maziwa SACCO that has been provided, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's very unfortunate that the violation of Article 41 of 2010 Constitution on the Labor Rights has been meted to these Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, at some point during the hearing, I had an opportunity of attending some of the hearings by the Labor Committee, and you could see these are old men and women who have served this country with distinction. They were old, they were tired, they were sickly, just looking for their justice, Mr. Speaker. And they say, an injustice somewhere is an injustice everywhere. And this is travesty of justice, Mr. Speaker. More than from 2004 to now, a child who was born, and I remember in 2004, Mr. Speaker, I was informed to at the 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 Boys High School, where it has produced 2 presidents, Mr. Speaker. It has produced President Moi, and of course the distinguished, the 5th president, Dr. William Ruto, and maybe the 7th, because that's our tradition as the school. The ceiling, it's always the top, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, that is for 204, somebody who was born to 204 as clear degree. So it's very unfortunate, Mr. Speaker, that we are discussing this. We should give directions. Mr. Speaker, the recommendations that has been made, they were 400 million that EACC, Mr. Speaker, should investigate the people who are concerned. Mr. Speaker, this 400 million, these people who manage these accounts, they must be investigated, Mr. Speaker. And I want to challenge EACC, Mr. Speaker. It is an independent body under Chapter 15 on independent commissions. but the performance of 𝗍𝗍𝗍 is below par. You know, Mr. Speaker, it's very unfortunate. I'm surprised. In fact, we should have recommended DCI to investigate these individuals and prosecute them to Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, Mr. Speaker. Because the biggest problems we face in this country is because of 𝗍𝗍𝗍 inaction. The other day, we are protectors of devolution under Article 96, is to protect. But the biggest threat to devolution today is corruption, Mr. Speaker. But 𝗍𝗍𝗍 is doing absolutely nothing, whether they are in cahoots with the offenders of the law of corruption. And you remember one of the biggest campaign strategies of President Kibaki in 2002 was zero tolerance on corruption. And in fact, Parliament then, after 2002 general elections, they enacted Anti-Crimes and Economics Act of 2003, Mr. Speaker. But today, the biggest threat to development, to functionality of devolution, and even success of this case is non-inaction of 𝗍𝗍𝗍. Mr. Speaker, and coincidentally, 𝗍𝗍𝗍 has normally been led by religious leaders. So I don't understand. Because this 400 million, Mr. Speaker, as we talk today, we should be told that there are recovery proceedings. In fact, Mr. Speaker, in the fight against corruption such as this, we need, Mr. Speaker, one, to arrest these people. Then the ODPP begins recovery proceedings. The only way to finish corruption in this country is when 400 million were being stolen. You also jail people, do recovery proceedings, and ensure interest is paid to the money that is stolen. If this 400 million was stolen 25 years ago, Mr. Speaker, these people should pay close to 1 billion to Kenyans so that we punish and ensure the corruption is punished and banished in this republic, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, and therefore I challenge the 𝗍𝗍𝗍 to do their job. If they need more resources, Parliament can always allocate and appropriate enough resources to 𝗍𝗍𝗍. And that is why, in fact, we need to form, maybe, in fact, in future, Mr. Speaker, the 𝗍𝗍𝗍 and DCI should work together. Because sometimes white-collar crimes are not easy to fight in this country, Mr. Speaker, because of money laundering. These people, you know, tracing of the money, the issue of money laundering is becoming a problem in the fight against corruption, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, number 3 on the issue of these workers is that the issue of statutory deductions and terminal dues. This is an employment under Labor Relations Act, and the Employment Act is very clear that terminal dues must be paid, Mr. Speaker. I think this is long overdue. The issue of statutory deductions and to Maziwa Sacco. Mr. Speaker, there is a problem with our SACCOs in this country, because most of the SACCOs are collapsing with the people's money, as you are aware. And that is why we passed the SACCO Societies Act, Mr. Speaker. It is now SACCO Societies Regulatory Authority must be called to order, or what we call SASRA, because it's their duty to ensure the SACCOs are properly regulated. The fact that Maziwa Sacco, Mr. Speaker, took money that belonged to the people and belonged to many people, Mr. Speaker, is a very unfortunate, and they should have paid, Mr. Speaker, because this was Kenya shillings, Provident Fund was Kenya shillings 204,471,555 shillings and 20 cents, plus interest, were Provident Fund that were paid to Maziwa Sacco. We have a problem with SACCOs in this country, Mr. Speaker. We need ZASRA to be on the lookout to ensure SACCOs that do not comply with the regulations that are provided by the law, Mr. Speaker, should and must be provided for. And, Mr. Speaker, it brings me to the point of statutory deductions. Mr. Speaker, many counties, and by the way, this is how people are stealing money. Because we were asking control our budget, and I know that the distinguished senator of Narok knows this. When you request money to control our budget, you don't request in net, you request in gross. So what counties are doing, they do statutory deductions, and they don't remit to the relevant statutory, including KRA, NHIF, SHA now, NSSF, Mr. Speaker, and I'm happy the President has done something about NSSF. For the first time, the pension has grew by more 1,000 plus growth, unlike for the last 60 years, Mr. Speaker. So this issue of statutory deductions And I want to request the EACC and DCI, or people who deal with Economic Crimes Act, where counties deduct the money, but they don't remit. That's an offense. That's corruption, Mr. Speaker. Because how do you take the employees' money and you don't remit? It means it has been stolen, and that is 204 million shillings plus was stolen, and they should be ensured that they recover that money with the interest. This should to the employees, and therefore Maziwa Sacco and all the directors, because there was what we call culpability, dereliction of duty by the directors of Maziwa Sacco, they must be brought to order. Mr. Speaker, I want to appeal to SASRA to be on the lookout and ensure that the regulatory authority should be in phase, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, curiously in the morning, I was following the distinct senator of Makueni, and he said a very strange statement that I've never heard in my life. He said it is better to pay these employees than to give nyota to young people, to give 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 to our old men and women in the villages. That is the worst statement I've ever heard from a leader, Mr. Speaker. All tremendous respect. Does it mean our old men and women do not have right to get 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓? Does it mean the young people, and I'm happy I saw you supporting the president when he came to Garissa, and you spoke passionately on how nyota can improve the lives of young people in Garissa County. And I want to thank the president, because nyota program is now accessible to all Kenyans. The president has gone across the country. For the first time, the northern Kenya, which has been ignored since independence, Mr. Speaker, are now getting opportunities similar to all Kenyans, including roads, including nyota program, where the president was in Wajir, was in Mandera, was in Garissa, your county, Mr. Speaker. We must applaud the president. And I heard somebody saying, why is the president going to give nyota funds? That's the work of the president. You wanted the president to babysit or to drink chai and mandas in State House. The president we have wants to go. One of the role of a leader is to go and see your people and ensure they get, and that is what the president is doing, Mr. Speaker. And I want to request the senator, although, you know, these formations that we have in the country, like disunited or united opposition, I think they don't have an agenda. I think they don't have a plan. Because we need young people to be busy. The only way, Mr. Speaker, and I've always insisted, there are different categories of young people. The young people who did not go to school, but they are looking for opportunities. The young people who go to school, they want jobs. There are people who want to still go to school. So, Mr. Speaker, this issue, and I know in my culture, Mr. Speaker, I don't know, your old wazee and women in northern Kenya, Mr. Speaker, you know, he said that 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓, which benefits old men and women, should not be given out. In my culture, if you say that, the old men can curse you. So I want to request Senator of Makueni to still come back, apologize to the old women and the youth. If he doesn't apologize, the old women and youth of Makueni should punish him in 2027 general election. And in fact, it is dangerous because old men can just tame a matter and you are cast, Mr. Speaker. So he needs to be careful. Let us, Mr. Speaker, let us compliment as leaders. So in this payment of terminal benefits, contribution to Provident Fund, Mr. Speaker, the Sacco dues and the Harambee Sacco, we saw, and I know colleagues whether they are aware of the crisis that we saw in Harambee Sacco, this issue of SASRA, they must come out. Mr. Speaker, it is very unfortunate. There is another parastatal by government called Kenya Post and Telecommunication, Posta. The employees have not been paid up to date, Mr. Speaker. There has been delay of salaries to the Posta employees. The management and the minister concerned of ICT, I don't know, is it the former governor of Kiambu, must ensure the Posta employees are paid their dues, Mr. Speaker. It is unfair. Kenyans have school fees to pay. They have medical bills to pay. They have personal rent, Mr. Speaker, and yet they are not being paid. So the Posta, Mr. Speaker, must come and ensure that we look focus the employees. Mr. Speaker, we want, and I think, Mr. Speaker, it drives me to my final point. Mr. Speaker, there is the law that we passed, the Privatization Act of 2025, number 18 of 2025. We passed the Privatization Act. Mr. Speaker, the argument of sagas or government has been that there is too much expenses in our parastatals. And I heard my colleagues complaining that the government is privatizing. The reason privatization is being done, Mr. Speaker, is to allow some of these parastatals to function, including payment of the employees. One of the aspects that the Privatization Act has given into place is to ensure the process of privatization is made and per the law. What you see, the transit between KCC and New KCC Limited and the Kenya Commercial Bank must be called the Kenya Commercial Bank, who was a receiver, KCB. I know KCB is one of the established banks in this country, Mr. Speaker. They must tell us what their role. And I'm happy, the Speaker, you had said we should sit and agree on what the role KCB or Kenya Commercial Bank played in this process of the KCC, New KCC Limited, and their process in winding up and ensuring that the receivership was done at that point in time, Mr. Speaker. So this issue of Privatization Act has given into focus. I'm aware, Mr. Speaker, that the government is trying to offload Safaricom shares through, and I'm happy the government is doing public participation. Safaricom shares offloading, Mr. Speaker, will assist in fundraising, among other things, infrastructure support. You are aware we are doing road from Wajir through your county to Nairobi. We need enough resources. We can not only depend on World Bank or any other. So the sale of Safaricom shares should be supported. I have seen individuals, Mr. Speaker, who want to correct government, but they don't have an alternative. Mr. Speaker, as we talk, the public debt is approaching way above 11 trillion. In the budget policy statement, Mr. Speaker, the internal public debt is close to 1 trillion Kenyan shillings in terms of the interest of domestic borrowing. We must sit as a country and say the sale of Safaricom shares is within the law. And we need to raise, at least I'm told it's more than close to 250 billion, that will ensure 𝗪𝗏 Rironi Road is dual. Mr. Speaker, people who come from Mount Kenya, and I don't have a problem with, I traveled the other day to Murang'a. Mr. Speaker, they only use 30 minutes to be in Kenol because they are road. For us who come from Western Kenya, and I can see a number of us, we take even 2 days and sleep on the road to reach our homes because of the pathetic traffic gridlock along 𝗪𝗏 to Rironi, Mr. Speaker, or Rironi 𝗪𝗏, and therefore the sale of Safaricom shares should, and the government should proceed. I'm happy in the public participation that has been conducted by the National Assembly, Mr. Speaker. I want Kenya Pipeline Corporation, the sale of shares through initial public offer. Kenyans should buy. They should own some of these parastatals to ensure these parastatals keep making profit and ensuring that we proceed, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, and therefore, as I conclude, I want to applaud and ask also the counties, because SACCOs are devolved, Mr. Speaker, the county should play a role and ensure. Mr. Speaker, even as Ramadan begins, Mr. Speaker, our county government should work very hard. I know Mandera has a problem with generator. We were with you, and I had the president, please, the issue of generator should be fixed, especially, leave alone seedlings, we'll come to that. The issue of Ramadan is beginning. I wish the people of Mandera could get electricity. And I'm happy the president noted that the generator. But what curiosity, Mr. Speaker, I was looking at the OAG report. The neighbor governor, Governor Hamida Abdullahi, the COG chair, used 9 million to repair a generator instead of buying a new one. You know, that's what shocks me. It is in the OAG report. And Nancy Gatungu has flagged this in 2024, 2025. That the Wajir governor used 9 million to repair a generator instead of buying another one, Mr. Speaker. So we must ensure that these issues are handled once and for all. Mr. Speaker, my heart also goes to the great people of 𝗪𝗏𝗪𝗏𝗃𝗏 in Ijara constituency in your county, where they are drinking water that is looking greenish, because the county government of Garissa has failed to provide clean, Mr. Speaker. And you know, I heard the senator of Mombasa talking about seedlings. That's why we were asking Mandera governor, why would you buy seedlings in Mandera instead of supplying water to the people because of drought? That is what is happening in Sangailu, in Ijara constituency in Garissa. The water should be available. I want, there it is. Maize seedlings on the other 55 million, Mr. Speaker, but I know colleagues will do that. But I'm appealing to Kenyans that access to clean and affordable water should be a preserve of any Kenyans, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, even where we are raining, we should ensure that we focus on provision of water going into the future, Mr. Speaker, in across, and I'm happy the rains are there. We should ensure Kenyan success, especially in this season that is coming, Mr. Speaker. Because I can see, Mr. Speaker, the issue of water, the reason I'm saying is because there is drought in the country. Even as we discuss at the employees' rights, we must sit and ensure that we remain focused, Mr. Speaker. I've seen even there is a diarrhea alert somewhere in Wazingishu, Mr. Speaker, and we spend a lot of money. We spend a lot of money in accessing water, Mr. Speaker. With those many remarks, Mr. Speaker, allow me to support this motion.
Senator 𝗦𝗘𝗡𝗓𝗓.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'll try to be as brief as I can to be able to critique this report. I've listened to my colleagues' submissions in regards to the direction the committee took while they were dealing with this issue of the petition. And Mr. Speaker, petitions are things that it's a right for every Kenyan. But the question that we never ask is what happens? What happens after the petition has come, petition Parliament for a matter to be heard? Parliament spends money, invite different bodies, they come in here, we go through, and then ultimately the finding of the petition is handed to the petitioner to be able to pursue. Does that really help? Mr. Speaker, I've listened to my colleagues make their submissions, and what I deduce from reading the report and also from my colleagues' sentiments is that there is an over-reliance on the morality, humanitarian aspect of this petition, forgetting the legal fundamentals of this petition. Mr. Speaker, we're in a country now where one entity is done away with and a new entity is brought into place. 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 was actually restructured, or it collapsed, depending on how you want to put it, and then new 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 comes in. There is a legal process that ought to be followed to ensure that when a new entity is coming in place, the liabilities of the previous entity is absorbed by the new entity. Mr. Speaker, if we don't analyze this petition properly, and that is why from the onset, I would want to recommend that this House does not adopt this report and recommit it back to the Labour Committee for them to be able to really analyze on the consequences, intended and unintended, of adoption of this report. Mr. Speaker, we currently have staff who used to work with NHIF, is it NHIF? And now they have moved to SHA. Soon, Mr. Speaker, you will hear people coming up and saying that their dues, their terminal dues, their SACCO deductions were not remitted, or they were not transferred to the new entity. The courts have already pronounced themselves. Mr. Speaker, I want to speak directly to the petitioner and tell the petitioner, you did a very good job. You did a noble thing, because most of the contributors of those circles are aging. I can empathize on the situation. But the reality is this: I want to be practical on what is going to help you and what is not going to help you. I've been in this Senate for quite some time, and I've gone through petitions that have been brought to this House. One of them, which was very, very emotional, is the one of former councillors, where Treasury came in here and said, we do not have a legal framework to be able to compensate them. This one will fall in the same, what do you call it? Category. And that is why it is important, Chairman, that this report be recalled, not adopted, so that you can strike a balance between the legal challenges and the humanitarian, moral, or morality. You have to strike a balance between the two. And my view is this. These staff benefits, provident funds, and related dues, which are coming up to about 204 million. Is it 205 million or 204 million? Without even calculating the issue of interest. The first thing to do is to go back to the law and say, what did the Court of Appeal say? In terms of the legality, there are statutes that dictates on how entities are transferred from being one to another. I think I drafted them down here. Let me refer back to my notes. We've got, in fact, when you look at back in terms of the Court of Appeal 2020 ruling on Civil Appeal number 191 of 2018, which, in its wisdom, the judge absolved new KCC of all KCC liabilities under section 3, 1, 2, and 8 of the Transfer of Business Act, Cap 1990. The first question you must ask yourself is this. Are we the ones in this parliament who hinder people from getting what is rightfully theirs? The first thing, Mr. Chairman, you would have done through the Speaker is to look at that piece of legislation, the Transfer of Business Act, Cap 99, especially section 3, 1, and 2. And ask yourself, why was it drafted there? And what will help these aging former KCC employees who are now languishing in poverty because what was deducted from them was never remitted to the circles? How can you be able to look at that? Do we need to amend? Do you need to sue the AG directly? Because if you rely on the AG's recommendation, I dare say you will not be able to get anywhere. Because, of course, the AG will be able to absorb the government. And the Cabinet Secretary of Treasury will come and tell you, unless your parliament comes up with a supplementary budget, and you allocate those funds specifically to be able to compensate these former KCC through a humanitarian angle, there's no way we can help. But is that not setting a very dangerous precedent to future entities that are transferred from one entity to a new one? Have you taken into consideration NHIF moving into to SHA? Suppose the same case comes up tomorrow. Will you go back and say there's already a set precedent? So Parliament, go back. What about the fiduciary responsibility, Mr. Speaker? So, Mr. Speaker, the petitioner's case, which no doubt is rooted in verifiable salary deductions and constitutional fair labor practices under Article 41, deserves swift humanitarian relief. However, we have to look at the legal aspect of it. And my view is very clear. We've got what I've already highlighted in terms of the Transfer of Business Act. You need to look into that. And that is why I keep on saying this report should not be adopted by this parliament, should go back to your committee. Number two, these claims, have you been able to verify them? Are your findings truly evidence-based? Have you carried out an audit of these claims? And you are certain, without any doubt, that it is true. These former KCC employees, however many they are, their funds were deducted, their terminal dues, is it evidence-based? We also need to look at the PFM Act, I think section 43, on this petition. In terms of if we were to compensate these people, or if we were to commit public funds in terms of compensating these people, how will it be treated by that act? Will it be legal or illegal? So, Mr. Speaker, I believe that the petitioner has a right to sue the Attorney General directly. Because when you hand over the report of the Labor Committee, let it be something that if that petitioner takes it to court and say this is what the Senate found, it is not only going to be based on humanitarian grounds. Yes, I care about you. I worry about your elderly situation. But is that going to put food on your plate? Do you have an evidence-based? Do you have a legal backing to be able to claim that? While at it, Mr. Speaker, I think it is important for us to be clear on how these parastatals are being wounded up, or how these parastatals treat their employees. Every single day, Mr. Speaker, and I'm sure my colleagues read the papers, or they are also members of this parliament. Courts have always found new rights, more rights. In fact, employees are protected more than employers. But what does that right translate to? Does it translate to them being happy? Today, if you attend CPIC or even PAC committee, you will find that most of the findings by the auditors is that our own county governments are deducting statutory deductions, but they are not remitting. Is it about time that we come up with a process where when your deductions or your retirement benefits are being deducted, they are ring-fenced in a way that the moment you retire, it is only you who will have the key to be able to go and open that box and get that money, but not having to rely on someone else. 4 months ago, I was even fighting for my own sister with Treasury, who retired as a teacher. And it took 4 years for her to be able to get her dues. 4 years. In fact, most of the money that she ended up getting was to pay loans of the money she was borrowing to come to Nairobi to follow up. It is in Treasury. It has left Treasury. It is go to the Ministry of Education, go to your local office. Why? Why do we make things so difficult for people? This red tape is what is killing this country. We all talk about wanting to advance to be a modern society. But when our own welfare is neglected, how are we going to be able to advance to be that first-class community? People work. On a daily basis, civil servants go to work. They work for 40 hours a week, sometimes even 80 hours a week. Because, in fact, if there are people who are never acknowledged in this country as civil servants, when we politicians are going through our election circles, they are still there working. They are still working there. Our secretariat, if we get elected, re-elected or not re-elected, or reappointed or not reappointed, they will still be here. But seldom do we recognize them. Now, when they retire, they now start coming to us, oh, Senator, help me, get my dues, help me. These are my retirement. In fact, there's a gentleman, an older man, who calls me on a daily basis. And he always tells me, please, talk to 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗙 Tell him, I need my money. I've done my calculation. I need my money. I go there. This old man is around 80 years old. I go there. I take him there. They meet. They talk. He's paid some little money. He comes back with a new calculation. We need to have a solution to this. To a point where I even feel embarrassed. When I see him calling me, I get embarrassed. Because I don't know whether the money which we agreed is being paid, he has been paid or he has not been paid. So, Mr. Speaker, to conclude, let me say this. We must strike a balance in this House. We must anchor equity to the law. We may need to amend certain pieces of legislations. Every petition gives us an opportunity to be able to see what has gone wrong and how we can be able to stop it for the next generation. So, in my view, although I recommend the committee led by my good friend from West Pokot, I still believe that this House should not adopt this report. This report ought to be recommitted back to the committee. Then you sit down and you look at your recommendations. One of the recommendations which I read and left me wondering what it will yield is where you talk about verifying those dues and also making sure that these people, because of their age, they are given what is rightfully owed to them. I agree with you 100%, but is it practical? Is there laws that hinders? Have we ignored the findings of the courts? The first question to ask, which you should have asked, Mr. Chairman, through Mr. Speaker, is when the assets were being transferred from old KCC to new KCC, were these liabilities also transferred? If they were not transferred, then you cannot now demand that new KCC pays them. You have to look at the assets. I think it was done in 2003. Were they transferred? Were these liabilities transferred? Was everything transferred? And I think the answer to that is very simple. If you look at the findings of the Court of Appeal, you will understand that there was a lot of negligence. So who do you sue? In my humble submissions, the Attorney General, directly, so that this thing can be resolved once and for all. And this is a bit different from the issue of the councillors, because the councillors, it was a moral and humanitarian angle. This has got to be more on a fundamental of the legal process that ought to have been followed to ensure that these hard-working Kenyans who contributed many years for the success of KCC were treated like human beings, legally speaking. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Senator Danson Mungatana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to comment on this report by the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare. Mr. Speaker, may I start by commending the chair of this committee, the Honorable Mbugua, for the good work they have done on this question that was referred to the committee for resolution. Mr. Speaker, I do not want to repeat what my colleagues have said, except to concretize the facts that these KCC workers were not paid their dues. Their contributions were not paid to them. They sued the company, and Mr. Speaker, they were awarded their rights. And then, Mr. Speaker, on appeal, they were told that the new KCC cannot bear that responsibility. Mr. Speaker, on legality, I agree with the Court of Appeal judgment that made the final call. They are standing on proper legal principles that you can't sue what is not liable. And Mr. Speaker, in fact, the ministers, when they came before the Senate committee, they confirmed these facts, and they said, because of the technicality, we are not able to pay what is due to these workers. But Mr. Speaker, what the committee ought to have done, and this is where I wanted to focus on, the committee has power to note all these facts, but still make a recommendation that ex gratia payment can be made. And Mr. Speaker, ex gratia is also a legal principle. Insurance companies can make payments on the basis of ex gratia. This is a legal wording that is from Latin. Ex gratia means on the grace. That means by goodwill. It's morally right. It is justice to do that. They did not need to accept the recommendations of the minister for treasury and say, okay, the law has said this, the courts have said this, then they leave it there. They ought to have gone one step further and recommend that despite all this, these workers ought to be paid on ex gratia basis. Mr. Speaker, I have said insurance company make these kind of payments. Labor courts can make orders on this kind of payment. Even companies can make payment on the basis that we are not accepting legal liability, but on the basis of justice, humanitarian consideration, we will make this payment. Mr. Speaker, what we are talking about is little money. The Treasury could have been asked through a recommendation of the committee to make this ex gratia payment. And Mr. Speaker, when the old men who worked for KCC came before this committee, they were aware that the Court of Appeal has made a ruling against them. But they came because they believed that this Senate would help them recover their rightful dues. So, Mr. Speaker, while I congratulate the committee on the facts, laying out, meeting all these people and the departments of government, I find it difficult to accept that they have thrown their hands in the air and they have said that there's nothing they can do. Mr. Speaker, I think the committee ought to find a way to amend the report and allow the payment of these workers on the basis that ex gratia payment can be effected, and the government needs to make this payment. Mr. Speaker, I would have ended there, but I want to say one more thing before I take my seat. Mr. Speaker, government agencies, and starting with the Attorney General, they budget for their own expenditures, they budget for the salaries and whatever in their line budgets. But, Mr. Speaker, they don't put money to fund legal or contingent legal liabilities. They don't. And this goes even to parastatals. And Mr. Speaker, this must change to be fair to people in this republic. People have litigation against the Attorney General. Those of us who have practiced law, we know that we have litigation against Attorney General, against the government. But when you secure your victory, it is called a paper victory. Because yes, you will get your judgment, but you cannot execute that judgment. And Mr. Speaker, we ought to change this. this particular approach to budgeting needs to change. We need to tweak it. And we need to say it in this floor of the House. Parastatals need to budget for legal contingent liabilities that may occur in case the parastatal is sued. They need to put money aside so that they can satisfy judgments that come against their acts. Same for the Attorney General. Mr. Speaker, I know that if KCC had put aside some money, I am sure at the time that the judgment was obtained, during that lapse period between the time that the appeal was filed and the appeal was executed, the 5-year period, they would have paid if they had this legal contingent fund that is supposed to satisfy liabilities that can arise. So, Mr. Speaker, without wanting to repeat what my colleagues have said, I want to support this report, but I wish that the chair can find a way to twerk the report so that there is a clear recommendation, binding recommendation that says, despite all this, this report is recommending that the workers be paid on ex gratia basis. And Mr. Speaker, one of the things, finally, that has come out here is that the workers were making payments, they were being deducted, and payments were being made to government bodies, Provident Fund, or whatever. But these payments were not reaching those bodies. Mr. Speaker, as senators, we need to be very alert and worried about this because it is a trend. I know my county, Mr. Speaker, under the current governor, they deduct workers in Tana River County. They deduct them viciously, Mr. Speaker, from their payslip, but they do not submit these deductions to the government bodies. So the workers are denied. It is unjust, Mr. Speaker. It is wrong, but governors are doing it. And I know the governor of Tana River is doing it. And they are so shameful, you know. It's very shameful that what they do is this to our workers in the county. Because, Mr. Speaker, some of these governors, Mr. Speaker, they employ people even to carry their chairs, you know, for functions. So even people who are doing personal service, your drivers, you are not remitting these things and you are deducting them and you laugh with them. You spend all your days with them. It's a shame. Mr. Speaker, I always ask myself how some counties, we end up with characters like this who occupy executive positions. I always wonder what we can do to make sure that although the executive position, we are supposed to have elected people, but we must twerk it in such a way that this is seriously not just a political position. People just play politics here, politics there, and then they are elected. And then they are totally incompetent. They cannot account for monies that come to them. They oppress the workers, threaten them, and then they hold seminars and threaten them. If you don't do this, or workers, you are going to see this. The normal statements that are done after Christmas on the first week of January. Then after that, they disappear because they have to take trips so that they can earn per diem. Shame on these governors, Mr. Speaker. That's what they do to our workers. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to use the floor of this House to ask the Tana River County government and other governors, please remit what you deduct from the workers. It is wrong. It is wrong. And this makes devolution look so bad because you are devolving some of the bad habits that are in the national government, some of the bad habits that are even in parastatals like KCC, who went down with 205 millions of poor people who are working for them, who made them profits, who made KCC to be the giant that it was before it collapsed. And so, Mr. Speaker, with those 3 points, I beg to support this report and ask that the chair, the Honorable Chairman Murgor and his team, will find a way of making a compelling recommendation that they can hold on to, not what all the members who have spoken before me have said. The recommendations are not sticking to something that these workers can say, we went to the Senate and came out with something. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity.
It's Madam Speaker, but it's fine. Senator Richard Onyonka.
Madam Speaker, I'm actually happy to be on this floor to make contribution to this important matter. The reason is that I think amongst the very many issues that I've brought forth, either publicly at the media or even in this house, is actually about this matter of payments which, even currently, are supposed to be remitted to either employees who worked for our government, who worked for government parastatals, who worked for private companies in our republic. Somehow, the trend that you look and observe is that there seems to be a consistency on how this money, which was meant to be deductions as retirement benefits for our people, whether the money was going to be given as gratuity for our people, whether money was actually supposed to be paid through the county governments so that the workers who have worked in these institutions can receive their legitimate dues. Madam Speaker, I've also been looking at why we treat our people so casually. I have always wondered that, and in fact, Madam Speaker, I really want to thank my brother, Honorable Mungatana, and Senator Olekina for their very impassioned plea on this matter. Because we seem to very casually treat these monies that are owned by employees, whether they're, as I've said earlier, whether they're working for the national government. I don't have the evidence whether there were any who have worked for this National Assembly or rather Parliament, but I know Parliament has been behaving reasonably well recently. But previously, these were issues where we had some of our colleagues coming to this National Assembly for more than 6 or 7 years, chasing after their retirement benefits. And Madam Speaker, the point I want to make is that even if you look at this money that we are talking about, which is supposed to be the deductions for our people, you can extrapolate it, and my colleagues, look at the other compensatory issues that have been raised in this house. Number one, the ex-bomb blast people. We allow these people to go to court. They go there, and of course, given the statute under which these bomb blasts took place here was not going to be accommodative, because at that time we didn't even have the platform on how we could argue and make these people compensated. Even some of them have done this through the Kenya Human Rights Commission. But our institutions, and I call these institutions the National Assembly, or rather Parliament, has been unable to come up with what my brother, Honorable Mungatana, is talking about. Can we agree that there are certain compensations that cannot be done within the law? Why? Because some of these things have gone beyond their statute of limitations. Some of them should be based on human right basis, and some of them should just be based on common sense. If somebody was the sole income earner who was selling items outside the bomb blast, and the bomb blew up our people because somebody was trying to attack Kenya for being friendly to the United States of America, and then 50 or 30% of the individuals who were blown in that bomb are compensated, and those ones who lost, who have the post-bomb traumatic experiences, where some of them till today talk about how they are not able even to sleep. And it's been over 30 years. Surely we need to come up with a mechanism within the law on how we can compensate our people. Number two, it is true, the deductions which most probably were being done for those employees who are working at KICC and did not get to the statutory body that was supposed to have paid the employees was eaten by certain individuals. The truth is, these individuals were never followed. The truth is, the law was never used so that either we could recover this money or even make sense on what to do with the people who are not receiving their money. And of course, my colleagues have ably and wonderfully stated here, like Honorable Mungatana has again graciously raised the issue. Look at the way how some of our governors behave. They are unable to pay gratuity to people who've worked for them and they've moved. They are completely leave alone the political mismanagement of the workers in their county governments because they believe that some of these individuals were not loyal enough to them. Some of these people who even left some county governments some 3, 4, 5 years ago, Madam Speaker, have never received their payments. And why then as a house don't we come up with resolutions on how, one, those individuals who have faced injustice, let them get compensation through a government mechanism which this house can sit and actually draft. Number two, if there are county governments that have been unable to release funds, which most of them are not releasing those funds, I believe that we can actually pass a moratorium in this house or a memorandum of actually asking the controller of budget to make sure that the payments which are supposed to go to these employees become the first charge. Finally, I had my colleague raise a question. How did we get such irresponsible people that are not able to look at Kenyans in terms of their capacity, in terms of their exposure, in terms of their human rights, in terms of their legality, where we actually refuse people to get their money after working for 25, 30, 40 years in an institution, and many of these institutions were actually bankrupted. Then an excuse is given. It's the same thing. I think we saw Jomo Kenyatta Referral Hospital having the same issue, where people who used to work under the auspices of the World Bank are not receiving payments so that they can be released to go and do other things. And there are many other institutions like that. So what we are saying, Madam Speaker, is this. Yes, we can do all these reports like the one that has just come here, which is done extremely well. But our recommendations are always weak. And it's because we've always thought in this house that we don't have enough teeth to come up and implement some of these recommendations. And therefore, I'm seeking and persuading my colleagues in this house that let us take whatever that we find that is not functioning and we begin to fix it so that it can make Kenyans receive their right, receive their payments. If it is their ex gratia payments, whether it is their family payments, whatever payments they make, we make sure that some of these things are done according to the statutory period so that our people can begin to say that government and even the corporate sector, even all the economy of Kenya is an economy that is friendly to its workforce, because once you work and finish and you finish your years well and you take care of the responsibility you had, then naturally you should receive your compensation as your retirement benefit and your historical benefit. And therefore, Madam Speaker, my opinion is that I think, like my colleagues have said, let us begin through our committees to interrogate those issues that we are failing to implement. Once the recommendations are made in this house, seems like nothing actually is followed up. Even when we get some of the audit reports that have recently come up, where you find individuals, are being informed, Madam Speaker, that as far as Kenya is, our country is okay, doesn't have any challenges. Some of these things are the ones which make Kenyans really angry. And unfortunately, Madam Speaker, they might even blame the current government, and yet the issue is not really with the current government. I think this is an issue that historically and perennially been with the government of the day, that we do not treat our people with dignity, we don't treat Kenyans as real Kenyans, and we don't handle Kenyans the way we should. And Madam Speaker, I want to raise an issue which I saw where a member of parliament of Kituru Churches South, Anthony Kibagendi, is being vilified, and in fact the House has decided that he has not behaved very well by him publicly mentioning that basically as members of parliament, even the Senate, we are becoming useless. That's the indictment that the public out here keeps raising about us. And the reason is we need to capture the mood. We need to understand what Kenyans want. Those things that don't need politics, can't we fix them? I don't see how individuals who are complaining why they are not being paid their retirement benefits, how this can be politics. Surely we can sit in this house, set up a subcommittee, which is given permission or through the statutory powers of the Labour Committee, and make recommendations, and those recommendations are final and binding. And we can seek consultation with the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal and the High Court, and make sure that any of the laws we pass cannot be contradictory. And yet we operate like everything is normal. And yet our people don't get payments from the statutory bodies that were supposed to pay them. And yet we understand some of this money was actually stolen. The people who stole the money are not held accountable. So, Madam Speaker, I'd like to say that I agree with the report and I appreciate the good work they have done, but we need to look for a way. And I remember there was a time when the Speaker made a ruling and said, stop complaining that you don't have the teeth. Can we now begin to build the teeth in this house which can make Kenya a country that is governed and is respected the way it treats its workforce? With those few remarks, I want to say thank you, Madam Speaker, and I support.
Senator 𝗓𝗏𝗂𝗍𝗍.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to also weigh into the report of the committee. I first, from the very onset, wish to appreciate the effort that this committee took into giving us what we are discussing today. Madam Speaker, I have gone through the recommendations, and as we appreciate the work that the committee did in establishing the historical background where the former employees of KCC, having won in their first attempt before the High Court the case to claim for their dues, they lost in the Court of Appeal. To the extent that then the Court of Appeal, besides overturning the decision that had given them the entitlement, it did state that they were entitled to certain payments and directed the Office of the Attorney General to see the mechanism within which these former employees were to be paid. Madam Speaker, this petition has been filed before this House on the strength of the constitutional provisions of Article 119 that mandates this House to do what is within its powers, either to legislate, to amend, or to repeal any statute or law. And in this case, part of what we as a House have as a mandate is to find a solution to support such vulnerable former employees who felt that coming to this House was giving them a recourse to get the entitlement. The assumption that that petitioner made when they were filing before this court, before this House, the petition, is that they will get to be paid. And having heard them, because from the report you will notice that the committee did engage these petitioners, it engaged the Office of the Attorney General, it engaged so many other stakeholders. The report, in terms of its recommendation, in my view, ought to have done better than it did by recommending certain policy statements. Actually, the recommendation that the interministerial committee that was set up by the cabinet secretary in relevant ministry to report within 6 months does not give the petitioner what they expected when they were filing the petition before this House. Assuming that that interministerial committee recommends that they are not entitled, their coming to this House was that resort of the last, saying we will get our entitlement here. They will not get if the interministerial committee were only to say, unfortunately, the finding of the Court of Appeal was that the new entity that took over from KCC is not liable to pay. Secondly, the policy framework, which they gave out as their second recommendation, is futuristic. Admittedly, yes, that is supposed to be the way to go. What remedy are we giving these petitioners as a House, as Parliament, that the petitioners came in seeking for support? And so, in support of what the rest of the members have said, the committee ought to have gone out of its way to facilitate an ex gratia payment, to facilitate a support to these former employees whose contributions and deductions were remitted or not remitted. I have not been in a position to read the facts in the matter that was before the court, but the bottom line is they were entitled to, as former employees, for whatever benefits that they contributed through the scheme and through the former employer, to be repaid or to be paid upon retirement or upon the dissolution of the former employer. So I really wish that the committee had been very clear and straightforward in its recommendation. But all is not lost, Madam Speaker, because even as we adopt this report, the committee still has given itself a window within which to follow up the recommendations they have made, both with the Office of the Attorney General as well as the Cabinet Secretary of the relevant ministry. I wish that in their follow-up processes, they undertake to highlight the fact that even as the interministerial committee pursues a recommendation on their part in terms of how else can they pay, they should stand firm in ensuring that this over 204 million, which is actually money that was established to have been deducted and remitted from the salaries of these former members of Maziwa Sacco, that money should not be lost, because whether or not a matter went to court, these deductions were from the salaries of those employees, and they must then get it back because it is their entitlement. This conversation relates largely, Madam Speaker, to what we received from the Office of the Auditor General's report to our various county governments, where county governments deduct from salaries of many of their employees, whether it is for purposes of NSSF, NHIF, or even to those established schemes. That deduction is made on their payslip, but then they are not remitted. And therefore, when the Auditor General flags out those things, we have got over I think 104 billion outstanding remittances in almost all the 47 counties. The biggest question which the Auditor General and which this House also asked when they were looking through those statements is that where do this money go and who will pay these former employees if they are not remitted even after deduction, because a number of them have gone into pending bills. And the Office of the Auditor General, though having flagged them, has only raised that these are red flags to mismanagement, to corruption, and to unjust treatment of employees who are working for county governments. Their salaries have, their deduction have been made, but not remitted. So even as we support this particular recommendation by the committee, the same should be sounded on our county governments where deductions have been made. They should be remitted, because we will, Madam Speaker, be dealing with almost a similar petition in a few years to come, where former employees of county governments are saying our salaries were deducted but not remitted, and therefore cannot benefit from that. So as we appreciate the work of the committee and also the recommendations they've made, we should, as a House, be looking at a recommendation that is implementable, a recommendation that will not discourage members of public from filing petitions before this House, and a recommendation that will also highlight the specific responsible government agencies to honor their commitment. And in this case, we look forward to, in the follow-up by the committee, having the interministerial committee being pressed to ensure that these deductions are remitted ultimately to the former employees, whether or not a finding of the court had exonerated the new KCC from the liability of these former employees. Madam Speaker, I congratulate the Honorable Chairman and his members of the committee for the work they did, save for those few comments which I wish, in their pursuit to follow up, ensure that they pin down to the inter-ministerial committee's work in their implementation of the committee. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Veronica Maina.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to reign and speak into this matter. The report that has been presented to this Senate by the Labour Committee. Let me commend the committee for a job well done, having looked at the facts of the matter, held several meetings, and ensured that they have come back to the House with solutions to the employees, former employees of KCC. It is very sad, Honorable Speaker, that we are discussing this matter today in the light that it appears, because I am certain that there are former KCC employees who have cried, mourned over their lost terminal dues. And this should not have been. But I'm also happy to note they have taken the right action. They have petitioned Parliament, having realized that under Article 119 of the Constitution, every person has a right to petition Parliament to consider any matter within its authority, including to enact, amend, or repeal any legislation. So they have exercised their constitutional right. And this is the way to go. Any citizen that is really aggrieved, or a group of people in Kenya who are really aggrieved, do have a right to exercise this Article 119 and present their petitions, present their views, or present their lamentations to Parliament. And Parliament is also mandated under the Constitution to ensure that they provide, to ensure that we provide solution to the people. And further, under Section 5.2 of the Petition to Parliament, a petition that is tabled in Parliament under this Act shall be considered in accordance with the standing order of the relevant House. So this committee sat, and they've done a good job. They have brought here 4 recommendations, if that is what I have seen, 4 recommendations before the Senate, having considered a matter that was heavily adjudicated in court, and definitely, in spite of judgments being rendered and an opinion being given by the Court of Appeal, the workers, the former workers of KCC, are still in distress. Notably, the KCB Bank is the one that handled the receivership of the old KCC. And it is important that the committee has noted in one of the recommendations that the receivership regulations must now be tightened. Why? Because if a receiver is already transferring the assets and the liabilities of a company to a new formation, that is the new KCC, the question we ask ourselves, does the receiver not have a duty to disclose to the new company that is taking up the ownership of the old entity, do they not have a right to disclose the assets and the liabilities, the full set of liabilities that is due, and that would definitely and naturally transfer to the new entity? So I find there is a very big gap there, and I would call upon the receivers, because they are also, banks of repute like KCC, that when they are handling their mandate as receivers, it will behove on them, because they are also public entities that are quoted in the stock exchange. It behoves on them to act in utmost good faith and protect and defend every right that is being claimed from the old entity or the entity under receivership. So it calls us to focus a lot on the role of a receiver. And when we are focusing on the role of a receiver, we know very well, Honorable Speaker, there is no entity that can succeed well without considering or just thinking deeply on how the workforce and the human resource is being treated. Because I think, Honorable Speaker, there is no company that would succeed fully until they take care of their workforce. So when KCB dealt with the receivership of KCC, they should have taken the aspect of human resource as a critical resource within that entity. They should have taken it much more seriously than they did. And I think we need to tighten the regulations and the rules just in line with the recommendation that has been given by the committee. Honorable Speaker, I note that the petitioners have not just come straight to Parliament. They didn't just show up in Senate. They went to court. They petitioned in petition number 1299 of 2013, and Justice Wasilwa granted an order that New KCC Limited was liable to pay the former employees. And the New KCC appealed, and at an appeal level, the former employees of KCC lost. And I'm sure those employees are now asking themselves, where is justice in all this? And the question we must ask ourselves, in spite of the changes of the company from the old KCC to the new entity KCC, was the claim due? And who gets to pay this claim? What is the role of the receiver? The committee has made recommendations. In this recommendation, they have recommended that the Cabinet Secretary and the Minister of Cooperatives to fast-track an ex gratia payment to these KCC employees, to the former KCC employees. I support this recommendation, Honorable Speaker. I fully support it. Why? Because they must not be held liable, or they must not be the losers in a transaction where assets and liabilities of a company were transferred to a new entity without full disclosure by the receiver, Honorable Speaker. And I'm sure in this receivership, the Attorney General's office was involved. What was the role of the Attorney General office in giving advisory to the receiver? What did they do? And how did they conduct their affairs? And that gap, who gets to pay contributions that were deducted from these former employees but not remitted even to Provident Fund? This is very wrong corporate behavior, Honorable Speaker. And indeed, all government entities must be held to account fully. If they do any deductions for employees, those deductions must be remitted. And I think one of the things that need to be done, compliance on a monthly basis, so that we do not have discussions like the one we are having now today. Any deduction that is done from employees, even private entities, must be remitted to the relevant authorities, Honorable Speaker, because then we will find a class of workers who worked for government, which should have been very prestigious. Working for a government corporation or an entity is prestigious across the whole world, Honorable Speaker. Anybody who works for government anywhere is always given very high regard because they represent government. So imagine employees then working in the public sector, serving the people, holding up for a company and working and slogging for years, then their money is deducted. and an entity feels it is okay not to remit those deductions, and actually fails to remit 1 month, 2 months, 10 months, a whole year, and they are not remitting, are they above the law? Should they not comply with the basic laws that have been set actually to support the government of the day? I think it should be embarrassing for us to be discussing deductions that have been effected from human capital and not remitted. They should be remitted, Honorable Speaker. So I believe the committee was on its right tracks to recommend that there should be a time-bound settlement plan for the former KCC employees, and I fully support that, and that our committees now must become strong enough to be able to oversight on such issues so that when these recommendations are done, then they are effected in a timely fashion. Then there is another recommendation for ensuring that we have mandatory benefit ring fencing during asset transfers. That should be automatic. Even before we do regulations that are more tightened for the receivers, it behoves on the receiver. A credible receiver like KCB must ensure that every interest in the matter that they are dealing with on the table and the receivership issues they are dealing with on the table must be attended to, even for their credibility. Because how do you ignore a whole workforce that has a whole claim, which is in the tune of 204 million shillings? It is not 2 pence, Honorable Speaker. And even if it may not appear too big for the entities that are transferring shares and changing hands in the management of the company, it means a whole big, it's a big issue to the employees, and it means a lot to their welfare. So, Honorable Speaker, I believe after these conversations we have had and the debate that we are having today, there should be a solution for the former employees. And then I see recommendation number 4, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission and Director of Criminal Investigation, within 6 months of tabling of this report, to investigate mismanagement and funds misappropriation by former KCC directors, particularly the cash 400 million loan that caused the company's collapse. Honorable Speaker, if such a recommendation is left unattended to, that will be gross misconduct, both on EACC and even the former management of the KCC directors. Why, Honorable Speaker? Because if this amounted to the collapse of a whole company, many employees losing their livelihoods, now their providence, their terminal dues are at risk, the courts are awarding, the courts are giving a repeal on the decision on their award. They are busy in a sucker somewhere, not knowing where their claim will ever land into. And then we have another group of people who have misappropriated 400 million shillings loan that causes the collapse of a whole company. That means, Honorable Speaker, that those KCC, former KCC directors, are economic saboteurs, and they should be dealt with. That is a case which the former employees and even Kenyans would be keen to see what happens to such people. What happens to this recommendation? So I believe when we call the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission in the Senate JLAC committee, the next time they come, I believe the chair who is in the House today, we will take this report and make sure they respond and account on what they will have done. So I hope the House will serve this report to the EACC so that we see an end to this matter. And it should sound a warning to other public officers who are managing resources that we cannot have mismanagement and misappropriation that sends many families into chaos with loss of job. That means loss of their livelihoods. It means loss of school fees for children. It means a lot. It has a lot of many other, chain effect. It triggers a ripple effect in the welfare of families in Kenya, and I believe it should be tackled and dealt with. Honorable Speaker, I want to congratulate the committee for being strong in this matter, and I want to pray and hope that by the time we touch this report again, that the KCC, the former KCC employees, will be a community that can smile and say that honestly, Parliament works. Because Parliament is the foundational and institutional guardian and custodian of human rights. It's the final stop for accessing any elusive rights and for helping citizens to access human rights through legislative action, budgetary allocation, and even oversight action over the executive. It is in Parliament where you can find the interface of dealing with the executive, the ministries, and the interface of dealing with any legislative gaps that could have caused any breach of human rights. And that is why for these former employees to bring this matter to the Senate, it was the right action. And we urge any Kenyan to know that Parliament exists to serve you. Parliament exists to ensure that your human rights are enforced, they are upheld, they are respected, and that you can enjoy the dignity that you deserve to enjoy as a citizen of the Republic of Kenya. So do not go to the streets, and if you go to the streets, do not be armed or do not cause demonstrations that cause destruction of any lives or destruction of any property. You can actually approach Parliament through a petition, and you will find tangible action that causes the human rights, the redress of the human rights that have been breached in your life. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I want to wish former KCC employees all the best as they pursue their rights, but from Senate, we will try to do what we can to ensure that the compensation that slipped through your fingers and out of your hands when you went to court and in the Court of Appeal can finally be redressed, and that you can find your compensation coming back to your pockets. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Beatrice Ogola.
Honorable Speaker, I thank you for giving me this opportunity to add my voice to this petition that was done by one Mr. 𝗟𝗏𝗃. And from the onset, Madam Speaker, I want to congratulate Mr. 𝗟𝗏𝗃 for taking courage on behalf of the suffering former employees of KCC that have not gotten their benefits, Madam Speaker, that were due to them at that time. Madam Speaker, as I rise to make this presentation, I want to remind Kenyans that we have just begun the Lenten period, and it is a time of forgiveness, Madam Speaker. It's a time of giving. And Madam Speaker, giving is not limited to giving in kind. Madam Speaker, it is a time that we should reflect in a number of issues in our country and in the world. It is a time of watching what you say, Madam Speaker, to others in the family, in the community, and in the spaces where we are. It is a time of thinking about the less fortunate in the society. And Madam Speaker, we wish everybody well in the country and in the world. Madam Speaker, as I begin also this presentation, I have a broken heart. Madam Speaker, just last week in my ward, in my village, we lost one such retired personality, one Boniface Okeyo, from Kosewe, Kanyamwa Kosewe ward, from my village, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, this gentleman was a retired public officer who had not received dues, who had not received his pension. And Madam Speaker, why my heart is broken is that this gentleman had gone through the suffering that equally, the suffering that the former employees of KCC had gone through. This gentleman didn't even have fare, Madam Speaker, to follow those dues in Nairobi, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, finally he got a lift in a lorry. the operator of that lorry was gracious enough to grant him a lift to Nairobi. One wonders how, when he finally would arrive in Nairobi, if he didn't have fare, how he was going to operate. But Madam Speaker, that is the story of most of the retired public servants, because they have waited for so long for their pension. Boniface left his home with his bag. Madam Speaker, Boniface did not arrive because that lorry got an accident and he lost his life somewhere around Nyansiongo. Madam Speaker, if Boniface had gotten his benefits, he would probably have never gone through what he went through. And just today, Boniface is a fellow Catholic. I know today he would have attended Ash Wednesday at the Mirogi Parish Church. May his soul rest in peace. Madam Speaker, I congratulate Mr. Bernard Kananda, and I sympathize, Madam Speaker, with the former employees that they have not gotten their benefits, even though the courts have stated so. But the worst part of it, Madam Speaker, that even their contributions that they made to Maziwa Sacco, they have also not been able to get. All of us here who work for the public are either as public officers, as state officers, or as employees. We sacrifice to save some money with our SACCOs, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm a teacher by profession. And over the years, I've saved some money with Mwalimu Sacco, even before I joined Parliament, in the hope that once when I need that money, I should be able to get it, to access it in a timely manner, because it is monies that I've saved, it is monies that are due to me. And Madam Speaker, that is the same story we want to hear wherever other Kenyans are working, at whatever level, that what you save in a SACCO, you should have access to. What the benefits that you have as employees, you must have access to. And I want to congratulate this committee of labor for taking this matter head on. Madam Speaker, at the ICT committee sometimes back, a predicament of the same nature was brought to our attention of the poster employees who had not gotten their salaries for months, Madam Speaker. And because of the deliberation of ICT, we even had to invite Treasury to our meeting and the Ministry of ICT then, and a commitment was made, and those employees were able to get their payment. It is on the same note, Madam Speaker, that this Senate must ensure that the former KCC employees finally get their terminal benefits and the contributions that they made to the SACCO, Madam Speaker. It is also very unfortunate that the government had disbursed this compensation to KCC limited stakeholders. Madam Speaker, but these workers continue to suffer. As we talk about the suffering, I know a number of them have also suffered and lost their lives. Madam Speaker, we know that as people age, their medical requirements increase. And in which other way would you meet your medical obligations if it is not from the benefits that are due to you having worked for it? So I know even as we are talking, Madam Speaker, some of the benefits we are pushing here are benefits that are going to be paid when a number of these employees have lost their lives. And we must shame ourselves. And Madam Speaker, we have a government. Our government must stamp its foot to ensure that workers get their dues and benefits that they work for. And that is why I'm happy with the recommendations, some of the recommendations that are here, that we must ring-fence the benefits of workers, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, some of the recommendations speak to what the ideal situation. And this need not to have come from recommendations, Madam Speaker, because these are the rights of our people. Timeliness of settlement of benefits. And we should also have an automatic compensation system, Madam Speaker. But Madam Speaker, I ask myself, as we deliberate over this, where is the AG? The AG has a role in all this, Madam Speaker. We are talking about the public. Madam Speaker, as my colleagues have also argued here, that is the kind of situation that is going to face even a number of our employees in the county governments. Senate is here to look at the interest and protect those interests of our county employees. We must go ahead, and this committee must go ahead to also just oversee over the period, even as the workers have not retired, that are their benefits safe? Will they be given in a timely manner? Are they ring-fenced? But above all, the circles which our people save a number of their monies, are those circles regulated, Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker, as I speak here, I know there must be a regulator of the circles. They must ensure that what people contribute in terms of their savings are safe, Madam Speaker. And we should go even ahead. This committee must get a regular yearly audited auditors report that must capture those issues that we are talking about. So, Madam Speaker, I support and I feel that the recommendations must be tighter. We must ring fence, as I've said.
Senator Beatrice, would you like to be informed by Senator Veronica?
Yes. Madam Speaker, I accept to be informed. It's only a fool that refuses to be informed, Madam Speaker.
Senator Veronica.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Just to inform and contribute to add to the richness of the debate, that yes, those circles are, it's to inform. Those circles are regulated, they have SASRA. So there is no reason for any circle not to have the money firmly available for the workers. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, I thank my sister and former SG for that information, that the regulator is there. But the question I ask myself, even in the presence of the regulator, what has the regulator done over this case? That the regulator must stamp their feet. The regulator must regulate all circles. Madam Speaker, I'm pained because, as I say, I'm a teacher, and years back, we used to have a circle for teachers in the greater southern Nyanza called Sonyanko. At some point, that circle ran into some problems, Madam Speaker, and I saw the plight of teachers that included my parents. I saw the plight of teachers, and that is why we are pained if circles do not take care of contributors' resources. At that time, Madam Speaker, teachers would get small loans when schools were opening, because that is when teachers would pay for school fee. So, Madam Speaker, I remember my parents and other parents then would line up at the circle. If they didn't get the loans, Madam Speaker, it meant that we would not go to school among with other children of the teachers. Madam Speaker, I pride myself and I say I'm a daughter of a teacher, a wife of a teacher, and a teacher too. So, and that is why I say we must stamp our foot in the regulations of the circles. Madam Speaker, this is an unfortunate happening. Although the discussion is timely, we must then rescue other employees. And Madam Speaker, I support this petition And I would like to say that the recommendations must be looked into. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator 𝗟𝗏𝗃𝗃 𝗪𝗏𝗃.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I appreciate the opportunity to contribute to this very important petition. And though we've had fellow colleagues talk about it and debate on it, I must also give a disclaimer that I am in the Committee for Labor and Social Protection, and I sit here as the Vice Chair. So this is something that we have been looking into for several months, as you see in the report before us. This is why I will make my contribution brief. However, I still wanted to underscore some of the issues that came up throughout this investigation and implore and beseech the relevant ministries to put an end to this particular petition on behalf of Mr. Bernard Kananda and the rest of the petitioners. Madam Speaker, this is a story. It's quite simple. It's a story of very earnest, very honest, very hardworking Kenyans. So I think that all Kenyans, even if they're not directly involved in this petition, can relate to the story that we have before us. Young people, they were young people in 1997. They were in their 30s and 40s when they were caught in the midst of a restructuring of what is now known as the former KCC and the current new KCC. These employers had nothing to do with that restructuring, but of course they had to follow suit to support the development and the new way forward that was seen by those leading this particular organization. And Speaker, it's unfortunate that between 1997, when they were just maybe 30, 40 years old, and almost 30 years later, we're now in 2026, they are in their 70s and their 80s, still waiting for their human rights and their dues to be given to them. That is staggeringly unfortunate. And this is something that I expressed throughout our investigation in the Committee for Labor and Social Welfare, because this is not the first time, Madam Speaker. You will know that this is not the first time they've brought this petition to the Senate. They brought it in this parliament that we are a part of now, but also in previous parliaments to the Committee on Labor in those times. And still, it is painful to have to see people who are my elders, my grandparents, having to come back and forth from their homes, from as far as the county I was born in, Mombasa, to the county that I originally am from, which is Vihiga, and beyond. Still coming back, begging, pleading, beseeching us as parliamentarians and the ministries and the regime that is here today to just give them what they are owed. It is quite a simple story, but unfortunately it's one that too many Kenyans experience and can see themselves in. Madam Speaker, you'll see in this report that they are asking for close to 205 million shillings that is due to them, including the interests accrued since 1997 when the restructuring happened. Because their only crime was to be loyal employers and to be patient with the system. They have been patiently waiting for the system to catch up with their human rights, Madam Speaker. And it's us who is really contributing painfully to what they've had to experience for almost 30 years, waiting and waiting and waiting. Madam Speaker, this 205 million is not just a number. It shows, or it should demonstrate, the agony that has been felt by them and their families and their extended families for almost 30 years. And I wish that the Minister for Cooperatives, together with the Minister for Labor, and other ministries, including the National Treasury, who we spoke to in this investigation. We also met with the Attorney General. I wish that they would see that this is a very low-hanging fruit. This can be resolved today. This can be resolved in this quarter. so that rights and freedoms can be enjoyed by these employers, those who are, that is, Madam Speaker. Because
Honorable Senators, it is now 1 p.m., time to adjourn the Senate. Senator 𝗍𝗍, you will have another 15 minutes when we resume the contribution. The Senate therefore stands adjourned until later today, Wednesday, 18th February 2026 at 2:30 p.m.
Things are crazy. Valentine period. It's a period. Valentine is a period. And you know, I was spending more time because I wanted to drag to one. That's what I was hoping. Actually, but I saw them look at me. I saw them look at me, then I said, I signaled, I said, what do I do? So I'll come. That's what I thought.